right. I think we are officially live. Welcome to what is, I'm not sure if it's going to be the first and only sort of Saturday school training I'll do on this channel or not, but I do enjoy kind of Saturday mornings doing this stuff, so we'll see. This is kind of what's about to happen here. So this is basically going to be a how to use AI course, primarily for those of you who don't really want to spend your time learning how to prompt or building gems or doing all that stuff, but you do want to understand it. Like, you don't necessarily do it on your own, but you want to understand kind of what's going on and how to use it. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to start, we'll take breaks as we go. I reserved kind of 3 hours for this on my own calendar. So I apologize for those of you that were like, oh, it's going to be 3 hours. I didn't realize that. It may not be. We're just going to go until I'm sort of done. But I'm hoping within 3 hours I'll do it. And we're going to start with kind of three main parts to this. First is just going to be the basics of AI and sort of how to think about it, the machinery of it, how it was built, how it operates, just so you understand sort of the physics behind what's happening on the machine. And then we'll move into a little bit of how to think about it and how useful it is and what it can be used for, and some things that we're currently using it for, and maybe why we should adjust or could adjust how we're using it to maybe get some better results from it. So we're going to talk about that as we go through, and that will make a lot more sense as we actually continue through that. And at that point, we'll then have a really good understanding of, okay, we understand what this tool is, what it's capable of, and how we really could be using it to get incredible results. Now let's do that. Let's go into the tool itself, and then we'll go into Google Gemini, and I'll show you Gemini. So for those of you that are just getting started with AI, it's a great tool. Anybody with a Google account basically has access to it. And so that's what I'm going to use, though. But if you happen to already use ChatGPT or Claude or whatever your other AI of choice is, everything that you will learn here applies as well, because it's about AI. I'm just using Google Gemini as a example tool because that's the one that I use. But it's not because it's the best one. It's just because it's a tool that is an LLM. But I could do the exact same things with ChatGPT. I can do the exact same things with Claude. I can do the exact same things with anything that I'm going to be doing, because I'm just teaching you AI. So I just want to make sure that we're not caught up too much on the tool. But if you're just getting started, why not use Gemini? So that's what I'm going to show you that. And then we're going to end with a discussion on Gemini Gems, what they are, how you can build them, what you can do with them. And so that those of you that want to do that can then continue to learn how to do that stuff and perfect those skills. But for the rest of you, you at least understand what a Google Gemini Gem is, or what a ChatGPT assistant is, or these GPTs and all the people that are talking about these little bots they created and what it is, and then all that it is, to be honest. You get to sort of reveal that so you understand it more. So you understand how to interact with it more and the usefulness that it can provide. Because we're going to be doing a lot of those gems on This Is Your Mind in AI, and the community that's coming from it. We'll talk more about that as we go through. Speaking of, if you are watching the replay, which of course the vast majority are, so I expect fully that you're watching this kind of as the replay edition, and you just happen to come across this live stream. So if you did right now, what I would heavily recommend is go to the last 5 minutes of this video at whatever the length is, because going to the last 5 minutes of this video will sort of give you the whole reason why I did all of this. And you're probably thinking like, okay, why is he giving all this stuff? Why is he doing all this stuff? It's nice that he's a good guy, but there's got to be a catch. There is a catch. And so that's what we're going to talk about in the last 5 minutes. So I have that piece there because at this point, the whole thing is over and I've known what to put in the last 5 minutes. So I can kind of tell you like, here's what it all is. So I really want you to do that. And if I can figure it out how to do it, I'm not sure that I can, but I'm sure it's possible. I can title this chapter Start Here. So at the very end, there's going to be a chapter. It says start here. That's where you should start. Catch the last 5 minutes, then go back to this moment. And I'll probably call, this is the next step or whatever. And then you can go back to that step. So that's kind of what we are, what the plan is. So again, if you're watching the replay, go to the start here section at the very end of this, kind of get caught up in what we're doing, and then come back to this section of the live stream. And of course, for those of you that are here live or jump in and out live, hang on, because you get to experience it as I get to experience it. Speaking of, the main purpose of this is so that, because I'm going to be teaching a lot of AI, but I'll be teaching that in a different community called automatedwith.tech that I have. So that's where a lot of the sort of machinery and lifting the hood and all that fun stuff will happen. But This Is Your Mind on AI is really going to be focused on me building out these gems to help us have unique more useful experiences out of life, to basically use AI as an incredible personal development tool, which is what I believe that it is really shines at, to help us learn how to solve problems. And so that's kind of what this channel is going to focus on, and creating these gems to help us to do that. And there will be an also community that I'm creating that will also have that. It's not up yet, but it will be. And the whole point of me telling you all of this is because I need the AI to have training data on what I'm talking about when I'm referencing AI, and all the different patterns that I'm giving it, and all the different understanding that I have, and the different ideas that I didn't realize I was giving myself, but I want AI to be able to analyze for later. And so that is why I'm doing this live stream here on YouTube. So all of you can also do that. I'm very big on this. Like, let's give this away. Like, this is useful knowledge. So take the transcript from this and give it to your AI and figure out what the useful parts are and integrate it in whatever is useful for you. Because that's what I'm doing. That's why this is here. And that's why I'm kind of rambling through it. This isn't going to be something that is the polished version of a course that somebody's buying. This is the figuring out what that course is going to look like. And here's the first raw version of what is now starting to become some crystallized thinking about things I've been going through for months, trying to figure out how to message this whole thing. So that's kind of the idea that we're going through this. All right. So with that, I'm going to kind of get started here. Now, one thing I did do, and I'm not going to go into how I did this or anything like that, because honestly, it's not important. But the idea is I've got a script, and I'll show you this so you can see it. Let me just get into the part that I can make sure it makes sense, so we can go through, because this is probably going to shift for me, and I don't want it to do that. Let me just do this here. I'm going to try to do this. Let me bring it over so you can see it. And again, this is part of the things I think we can just really do with AI. I think they're amazing. Let me go back into screen mode here. So here, let me go adjust my camera a little bit. If I can go the right way, there we go. Hello, camera. All right. So I think we can do that. There we are. All right. Magic of being alive. We'll edit that out in post. So the idea here is to get this to refresh. Oops, let me hold up. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to refresh our gem. Perfect. That's what I'm looking for. I hope that did it. No, it didn't. All right, let me get back out of here. Come on, I don't need you. I need you so everybody can see what this thing is, but I want you to go all the way to the freaking bottom of this because none of this stuff matters. This is all the stuff that you don't need to learn how to do. I'm doing all this stuff on your behalf, but essentially what I'm using here is I'm using AI, and I'm trying to get to the very end of this. There we go. I'm just needing this so you can see it. So what I have done is used AI to help me create this course, quite literally. So all of it. But I wanted to show you what I'm getting at is the final version of this, because again, the sausage being made is not the part that is important for anybody here on this channel. If you want to see the sausage being made automated with tech, that's where I talk about all the sausage being made, of how I'm doing this. This part is kind of the magic, the front end channel, where you're like, oh my God, that's amazing that you were able to do that. That's cool. Can you create a gem that will help me to do that? And the answer is yes, I can and will. And that's the stuff that will show up here. But I wanted to show you kind of what I'm going through right now. Kind of my experience of this, because this is an experience-based channel. We've talked about that before, but this is a channel that requires you to participate, because if you don't, you're just being exposed to new ideas, but honestly, you're just thinking, you're staying in your head. And we got to get out of our heads. We got to get out of this thinking mode where we're constantly thinking about what the right thing is to do, and instead just start doing useful things. And AI can help us with that. And it's my personal perspective, because that's what I have gone through. I can't say that's what you're going through now. I'm just saying that is exactly what I'm going through. So what I'm doing is I'm working with AI to create this and say, okay, here's all this crazy stuff in my head. Try to make this something that makes sense to me and to others who might go through it. So I'm going to introduce you to kind of some of the concepts of where it came from and how simple little things can help kind of create newness. And that's what I think a lot of people are using for AI. So I'm literally using this course as an example of how I created something new and creative and didn't have to do a whole lot of thinking about, as I'm literally going to train the course on how to think about AI. So it's really little meta mode here. But what it's done is it's basically given me the concept is there's the director and the actor, right? And there's the forcing momentum and there's the flowing momentum here, right? So there's the effort but I don't want to put a lot of effort, meaning I don't want to feel stressed when I'm delivering this course. I don't want to feel like I'm forcing things to happen or that we're trying to make something happen here. I want it to kind of feel flowing. And the reason, by the way, it's talking about forcing it as a scorpion versus the frog, which is maybe you've heard that story of the scorpion and the frog, right? Where they're the scorpion and the frog, and the scorpion's trying to get across the river, and the frog says, no, you're going to drown me. And of course the scorpion says, no, it's not. But then halfway through, the scorpion stings the frog and everybody dies, right? That's kind of the point. And when the frog's going, why did you do that? It's because the scorpion says, well, it's in my nature. Well, guess what? It's also the frog's nature to always say yes, like to always just believe. That's what the frog's nature is. So there's this flowing energy. It just sort of naturally lets things happen that always says, okay, everything's fine. And there's the scorpion energy that's just going to lie about stuff, and it's got to make stuff happen. So it gets the force. It gets the frog to actually jump in the water, right? So to each side, they sort of have a balance. Anyway, the point of this that's why it's putting those things there. I've already talked too much about that, but that's the point of it, is these tiny little stories. You can get perspective shifts from AI using it in really cool ways. The other thing that came about was this director-actor connection, which I've never had before when I've done training. For me, I'm just like, oh, I got to set up slide decks and blah, blah, blah. And this was like, basically, no, we're not going to do that. There's a director and there's an actor. So right now I'm in my actor mode, which you will see here, but there's a director mode as well that's also simultaneously happening, where I am directing myself as I'm acting through what this course needs to be. That's a lot more fun, I have to say. Doing a live stream like this is a lot more fun. But I wanted to show you exactly what I'm doing so you can see that it's being transparent. Because some of the stuff I'd be referencing off notes, and I'm literally not practicing this. I'm experiencing these notes for the first time because these just came to me. Like, I just asked for these. Now, to be fair, I was going to do this and actually rehearse this. But my sister called like an hour and a half before this was going on, and we just had this greatest conversation, and I chose to have that as a better experience. So just to chat with her for an hour and a half and get caught up on life, and that was much better. So I was willing to do that. And I did not rehearse this, and a happy accident, I get to do a live stream and just rehearse it in front of you. So I apologize for making you go through all that, but that's what's going on. I want you to see what I'm doing. Because I'm actually using AI the way that I would suggest that you start using AI. And I'm thinking about AI in different ways, which allows me to use it like this. But again, I'll show you how to do that in a second. So here's where we're going to start. Pre-director show notes, super useful for me because I get too much in teaching mode, and that's probably happened already. But I'm supposed to be focused on investigating this thing with us. Like, let's just explore this new thing called AI and think it through. So that's the energy that I'm supposed to be coming through. If that happens, please let me know in the comments. If it doesn't, please let me know in the comments because that just helps me. And to be honest, all those comments are going to go back to AI anyway as feedback to help improve this process. So the more that you participate, leaving comments as you do, especially for those of you who are watching the replay, which is the majority. I don't expect anybody to be here live. We're a small little channel right now, though eventually my guess is that changes. But the idea is that you're leaving comments and participating even though you're watching the replay. Just leave comments as if you're like, leave another one. If you leave a 3 or 4 or 5 or 20, just leave them and participate as you're going, because that's useful to help guide the channel. And that's you literally participating and helping kind of complete this. Now, this stuff I'm going to be doing, I kind of just did that, right? Does it land? Does it let me know in chat? Like, you can kind of, we'll be doing that. So, but again, if I forget to ask and there's something that lands, please comment in there and let me know. And then of course, if I ever get lost, which I love this little safety net, it's like, hey, if you ever get lost as a presenter, just go to AI and ask me, right? Which is, this is the AI I'm going to go to. I don't know if that'll happen, but this is the AI I'm going to go to do that. So here's what it's talking about. Basically it says, okay, here's the first hour. We're going to go through and we're going to ground the woo in the physics part of this. This is because AI is a kind of a weird woo machine. People think about it in wooish ways where they're like, oh my God, it's a God, or there's AI cults out there now. There's people leaving their wives for AI. There's people doing crazy things to themselves and others because of it, what AI told them to, or because they think it's the right thing from AI. And that's not just in this weird metaphysical world that everyone kind of can, maybe you kind of see and be like, that doesn't happen to me, but it probably does. It just happens to you in the work world, and you can't get it to write the best possible email. You can't get it to help you think through the workflow, or you can't get it to help you create that perfect recipe you've been thinking to create, or solve that problem that you still have kind of a lesser version of the same problem. And it's like a better version of the problem, but it's always still the same problem to some extent, or related problems. And that's all you ever get from AI, right? Well, there's a reason this is happening. And this is why we need to do this, right? So hopefully this will make more sense as we go through it, but I'm literally going to go through it with you now. We're doing the course as we're doing the course together here. So the hook and the promise here, director's note, start high energy, immediately grounding it, right? This magical physics tone. So maybe there's a little bit of that in there. I know I'll do a better job later, but again, this is why I'm data dumping everything into a transcript through this live stream, that I'll be able to use AI to condense it and say, oh, here are the best parts. And now we've got some bullet points, and I've got some bridges that I can use as scripts. And this is how I'm going to get better pretty quickly using AI to improve how I'm teaching AI. So literally, I want to emphasize how I'm doing this in public right now. So as it's happening, it's happening. So that's the whole idea of director's note. Script beat. Everybody thinks AI is magic, right? Which is true. There is a lot of cool things that it can do. So I get that idea. It's not actually magic. It's not a separate thing outside that's being controlled by some other entity, right? And so that's what I want to talk about briefly here, this magic idea. You think it's magic, and if you're thinking, oh yeah, but I don't think it's a separate entity, but you kind of do when you say, I need you to make the email happen. I need you to make my webinar better. I need you to make my conversion rates improved. I need you to improve my recipe. I need you to help me with my kids in a different way because I'm having a problem with my kids, or whatever the thing is. You are treating it like it's magic when you do believe that it's magic at that point because it's something outside of yourself. And that's not necessarily true. It feels like that though. It's very true that it is experienced like it's magic. And I experience that. It feels magical to me. I just know it's not actually magic. It's kind of mechanical. There's a physics behind it, right? There's at least a digital machine that I'm interacting with, right? So it's not magic. It's not, right? It's just math at a scale that we cannot comprehend. That's all this is. It's math at a scale that we cannot comprehend. It's doing all these calculations, trillions and trillions of calculations, so fast and so many of them that our brains cannot comprehend it. We're overloaded, right? It becomes like, maybe you've heard the story of the monk and the teacup, and the monk is, filling the teacup over and over until it's overflowing, right? And the student's like, oh my God, master, what are you doing? And it's like, well, I can't teach you anything if the teacup's always full. And that's kind of true. We can't hold anything else in our brain anymore. We can't complicate. We're not supposed to understand this math. Now, that doesn't mean some of us don't. Some of us do. Those are the people who are building the machinery, right? The people who are creating all of this technology. But we're on the operating side of it. We're the ones who operate the technology. We don't create the technology. We don't build the machines. We use the machine, right? So when you're trying to understand how this machine works, you're interacting with math at a scale you just can't comprehend. It's like having one of those super fancy calculators, except where it's doing all the fancy calculations that you have no idea how it's doing it, but it's graphing stuff, like things like that. It's like working with one of those, except instead of graphs and pictures that you can do with it, it's words you can do with it. That's kind of how to think about it. But it's still math. It's just math at a massive, massive scale, way beyond what numbers are doing, right? So the whole point of that is just, is this machine, it works, it's a math at a scale you can't comprehend, so don't try to comprehend it. You don't need to understand that part. We're not learning prompt engineering. This is not about standard structure of give it a role and give it an understanding, give it the inputs and the outputs and the process in between, all of that. That's not what the most important part of AI is. We're learning how the physics of this alien mind works so you can actually start to talk to it, because right now you think you're talking to it because you're passing it through words, through a prompt, and you think it's being received in a certain way that I promise you it is not. At least that has been my experience. Again, this is me going from teaching to investigating here. I have found that. I thought I was talking to it using my words and because I can experience like it's thinking about it, like I'm thinking about it, but it's not. It is a different thing. It's physically a different type of machinery, right? This digital machine, that's just a bunch of math equations, right? That have been put together and running through a computer. That's kind of what's happening. Just a lot of them. So many of them you can't possibly comprehend how it's put together, and that's okay. I don't need to. I don't need to understand how the machine's built in order to use it. I don't know how to build a car from scratch, but I can use a car, right? And that's the same thing. I don't know how electricity works, and I can't wire my house, but I can use electricity in my house, just like I am now to run this live stream. So that's all we care about. I need to know enough about it to know that I don't need to know that part. And that's the whole, I think the biggest part about this isn't about prompt engineering. This isn't about structure in that way. You don't have to think structured. You don't have to think like you understand all the mechanical aspects. Just know what this thing is. It's something that is just a bunch of math that's causing this, but it's not magical, just math, right? So the part of this bridge is because at the end of this, I'm going to ask you to do something to participate a little bit, to continue the process. I'm going to give you the skills that we're going to use together right now. You don't have to do anything, just hang on and go through this experience. but I'm going to give you the skills to kind of traverse this area, to think through some different things. And then I'm going to ask for your participation as well as we go through. And that's so that you actually get the skill, because otherwise you just get exposed to the information. But unless you practice, you're not going to get the muscle. And so I want you to be able to practice and think this through. And I'm going to help you do it. I'm here to help specifically with this channel as we go through. So let's talk about this, the mechanics of how this thing works. So this is what it's calling it the hit and download, because there is, in fact, let me pull it up because I'll show you this to you. I'm going to go into YouTube because there is a very good, and I did a live stream on this earlier, but this is what I'm going to show. Let's see, weekly show. And there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to pull up the right video here just so you can see it. So that is this one here. So this video is incredible. You should absolutely watch it. It's a really, really, really good breakdown of how AI was built, how it came across. So, and they talked about neural learning and the neural net and this machinery. This particular guy's name's Jeffrey Hinton here. He started working this in the 70s. So my job is not to educate you on who he is, just know that he's a guy that knows what he's talking about. He literally was part in the room that was creating this technology as it was being created and has guided it throughout the decades. And he's basically trying to say the same thing I think that I am, to be honest, which is we're misusing this tool. And if we keep misusing this tool, it's just going to get worse for us. We're going to make things worse for us. There is a different way to use this tool. We can be substantially better for all of us, specifically you, right? So that's kind of what he's trying to say here. But the long and the short of it, in the beginning, he was talking about what it is like for kind of neural networks to go through here. So let me see if I can bring this back. Here we go. So essentially, what he's basically saying, and this is just kind of, in fact, let me do this. I'll do this with Gemini, I think, so we can have some fun with Gemini. So I'm going to have it create my images as I go to kind of describe some stuff. So basically, let's just say the way that this works, the way that neural pathways work, is people think need a picture of a digital brain. Right. So, by the way, I'm not showing you any fancy stuff with prompting now. This is not the lesson of the AI, just kind of casually using it. So that's what this would be, casual usage. So people think AI is kind of like this without, maybe they do it with the skull. Interesting, AI decides to choose that. But this is the part of where they have the AI brain. They think this digital component, which is really just all the math, right? But we're doing this part. It's not a brain. We're anthropomorphizing all of these machines to think it's operating exactly like a brain is. And what I mean by that is we think our brains are thinking through things and then stuff happens. And that's not actually how our brains work either. And that's what this YouTube video was talking about, saying, hey, they're actually, the way you think your brain works is not how your brain works. And that's what's causing some of these problems. So let's talk about that a little bit. Your brain, you think you process things to arrive at a decision that you logically did, and that's why things happen in life. I do too. I feel like that, right? That's not what's happening. What's happening is in your neural network, there are the neurons that are in your brain that will fire. They ping. They will fire and sort of just light up, right? Just like a light would turn on in a dark room. They just light up when the ones around them are also lighting up, right? It's kind of like when you walk through, if you've ever walked through one of those office buildings that has the lights always off at night, and you can, when you walk in, the lights turn on kind of thing, because they have the sensors. It's like that. So it's when something has happened nearby that it senses, it turns on, right? The lights turn on. So in this case, it's when other neurons have also turned on. So imagine in this room, it's when other lights, instead of the signal of the person moving through the building, the signal isn't, oh, that's when I turn on my lights when I see somebody walking through. It's when I know that the lights around me have turned on, I should turn on also. So it's a different way of operating. And this is important. This is, and it's so subtle of a shift. I hope I'm communicating it properly. Probably not, but that's why I'm doing training here. But the idea is, as you're going through the room, everything's lighting up at once to us. That's it's gonna technically what's happening. It's kind of like when you get stuck in a path and you're walking through a park or something, or a hiking trail or whatever, and let's say it's at night, and normally it's lit up, but there's a part of it that's not lit up anymore. It looks dark to you because you can't see it. It doesn't mean it's not there. Another way to think about this is like furniture in a room that's dark. You're in a dark room. The furniture is there. You know it's there because you're stubbing your toe on it when you kick it accidentally because you can't see where you're going. And that's sometimes what life feels like. What AI does is we can use it as a tool to help light up the room so we can see the furniture that's already there. We can see the path that's already there. We just couldn't experience the path, right? AI can help us light that up because it works like our brains do in this neural network. And I've explained this horribly already. I know that. So I'm going to do exactly what AI told me I was going to need to do anyway. I'm already need my safety net. So I'm going to do this just as an example. Let's pull this up. Okay. And I did not test to see if my mic was connected properly. I hope that it is. If not, I'm going to make sure. This other mic just in case it goes to this one. All right, let's take it out here. Okay, I need a little bit of help. I'm actually on the live stream right now, and I've been talking about trying to download Hitton's thing and trying to explain neural networks, and I went way off topic. Important stuff, but nothing that's going to matter. I'm trying to explain that the neural pings and the votes, and I've talked about how maybe you walk into a room that has those sensors that have movement sensors, and they sort of light up when you're in the room. Well, that's the signal, the sensing signal is that. But really, what this is more like is instead of the sensor signal being me movement, it's power. It's like, oh, the other lights on that are next to me are on, therefore I should be on too. Maybe like the way a Christmas tree lights up. So I'm trying to come up with examples like that so I don't have to go through what Hinton talked about, which is the neural networks and how the individual pings, and then it's just trillions of that, and then they detect edges, and then all of that stuff, and birds and beaks, and everything else that I have not actually talked about at all to the audience. They just heard that stuff. And I'm trying, it just feels like that's complicated and clunky to even think through. So I'm trying to think live about actual more useful ways to think about, okay, do we really need to talk about this as a digital brain at all? Is that just dumb? Let's just throw that example out and say, you don't need to understand it's a neural network. What you need to understand is this is how it operates, things like that. And I want to do it with something that they are more readily accessible to. They're going to see later in the examples about iron and everything else, and we'll talk about those, but they haven't seen that example yet because I don't know if that makes sense to most people most of the time. And that's what I'm trying to figure out is what is highly likely to be the most obviously useful experience from that. So at this point, if you can provide for me what is highly likely to be the most obviously useful experience, I would appreciate that as an experience. That, by the way, is latent experience prompting in action. I'm not going to talk about why that works or anything like that. That is all going to be at Automated with .tech, where we talk about that's the sausage being made part. But I'm expecting at this point to get my response so I can get out of this bottleneck that I've trapped myself in, doing this live, of course. Which again goes into the AI where it can say, oh, this is the part where he got stuck, and let's figure out why he got stuck. Here's how we can now help him not get stuck next time because this is where he made the path turn and everything else. So I am experiencing live because I'm exactly right. I'm acting as a translator when I need to demonstrate, which is smart because I do that a ton. Ditch the digital brain if it feels heavy. Pivot immediately to something you already know. So I'm using AI, right? I'm demonstrating quite literally. So here's my pivot. So they don't need about how the engine works. It's how it drives. Perfect. So I don't need to explain to you how the engine of the car works for you to use a car. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you, AI. Perfect, right? Which, by the way, is me using AI. So thank you, me, for coming up with this. Full credit where credit's due. I used AI, but I used AI to do it. So it's my kudos, not AI did the work for me. AI just thought through all the effort part of it. I didn't have to put in the effort. I just get the insights, right? So you know what? I'm talking about digital brains and neural pings, and it feels too complicated. Let's throw that out. You don't need to be a neuroscientist to use this. You just need to know how it behaves. Yes, that's the transition script. So let's do that. We're not transitioning. Yay. So let's talk about, stadium wave it had talked about before, and I'll bring that back up because you'll see that in the original. But when you think about the stadium wave, right, it works perfectly because when you go through the wave, everyone's like, oh, and you kind of stand up and you do that thing in the stadium. You see that happening as they're doing the wave. You're acting kind of like the AI would act. It's like, oh, you're standing up because the person next to you stood up because it's the time to stand up, right? Because it's useful now to stand up because if you don't, you're not participating in the wave. You're not pinging back that you're part of the wave. And that's okay because there are some people in a wave who don't stand up. They don't participate because their signal says, well, just because somebody's standing up next to me doesn't mean I have to. And some are built like that. And that's how neural networks are. Some neurons will fire because they're ones that are next to them are firing. Others will maybe do it because the ones next to them are not firing, right? Or because they are firing, they don't do it. And it's how it works. There's different strengths and connections that cause these things to happen, these different interrelationships. Not important that you understand there's an engine. Sorry, it's not important that you understand how the engine works, but it is important that you understand there's an engine that's doing this. This is a very mechanical sort of thing to think through. But it's just lighting up information, lighting up these pathways in this AI. That's what its side. It's not assembling things. That's what we're trying to say here. It just has everything that it needs all at once. It just has the engine so it can move, so you can drive the car. Let the AI do its thing. Don't worry about how it's doing it. Just know that it's not doing it the way you think it is. That's the biggest part of this. So that you don't think that it's thinking through stuff, because that's a mistake we all make. I made it, where I was thinking it was thinking through. It's not thinking through anything. Even if it tells you it's thinking through, it's not thinking through anything. So that's what we'll talk about here. So again, forget the neurons, think about the wave. When you stand up because the person next to you stood up. You don't know the whole pattern, you just know your local rule. And AI is just billions of things doing the wave to create an answer, which is kind of what's happening. It's exactly what it's doing. It's like one of those little airport things, the old school airport digital, or signs that switch, that the mechanical clanking thing. I don't even know what those are called, but anyway, it's like stuff like that. For those of you old enough to remember, the alternative, Family Feud. Oh, this is the Family Feud thing. So it's not. So this isn't a brilliant philosopher. It's playing Family Feud. It doesn't care what the truth is. It cares what the survey says, which is true. It's looking for the mostly likely, most popular connection based on everything it's ever read, everything it's ever been trained on, right? This is what AI is doing. And our job with latent experience prompting, which is kind of the method that I'm teaching here, is to rig the survey so it gives us the brilliant answer, not the average one, right? And which is exactly right. So we don't want the answer that we know is out there. We don't want just any answer that we think is useful. We want the answer that's highly likely to be most obviously useful. That's very different than saying, just give me a useful answer, right? All right, and then let's see, the coalitions. So, when you walk in a room and you instantly know it's a sad funeral or a fun party. That's also interesting, right? Another way to think about it. You just sort of know what the answer is just by the vibe. It's because you're sensing all those connections. Your neural network, your own brain is sensing other people's brains and what's going on by their body language or tone or sound or whatever else is happening. But the different perceptions that are happening in that room, that vibe, you realize what the answer is. You're like, oh, I need to act like this now. Right. And you just naturally do that because it's useful. You don't think about right or wrong. You just like, this is useful for me to think like this, or to act like this, take these actions. Right. And again, some people, they are disruptive and some people are not. It's because that they're feeling it's useful. That's why they're doing that, because of the vibe. So that makes sense. I love that idea. So hopefully I didn't just grab one of these. It's the director saying, okay, now you're going to do this. I'm going to literally do this in the weeds. So hopefully one of those brought you around to thinking about AI in a slightly different way. And if it didn't, I apologize. It's going to get better as I go through this. This is just what the first live version is, which is why I like doing these live with no net anyway and using AI to help. All right, now I'm going to go back into getting caught up here, because I doubt we're going to go 3 hours, but I want to kind of get most of this out so that I can eventually chop it up and make it smaller, easier to experience courses, which I'll talk more about that. So as we go through, because that's going to be pretty cool. Okay, so we got the hook and the promise, building the bridge, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so remember, the whole point of this, watch that YouTube video, number one, if you really want to get down the rabbit hole on understanding how the sausage is made with AI. It's not important that you do. Just know that the only job of AI is to it just pings when it hears something that's useful. When it goes, oh, this is going to be useful, it will ping and it'll be available to the AI. It does not mean it's going to come back to us. It just means the AI knows it. That's what I'm also trying to communicate here. The AI knows a lot more than you think it knows, and you're not accessing it in the way they're using AI. At least, again, to my experience, that's exactly what happened. I was not using what AI actually knows about the situation. I was using AI to explore what I know about the situation, and that is substantially less. So the way AI works, it knows a lot more than we think it knows about what's going on. We're just got to learn how to access it differently. So maybe that makes a little more sense. And that's what this latent experience prompting style of prompting does as I go through here. So the coalition vibes are technical. So the political coalition of 1,000 pings. So the stadium card stunt, right? So there's another stadium example I was mentioning earlier. 50,000 people holding cards. They kind of just throw it up and it spells out a word like go defense or whatever. Like things like that. When people are doing that, that's kind of neural. Like they do the thing because the person next to them did the thing. That's why they're doing it, because it's useful. Some of them have a different letter or a different color on their card, but the pattern looks like something was communicated, right? It looks like defense or go team or whatever the thing is, because if everybody's individually doing this one thing of just holding a card, but it did something else. As a collective unit, there was a pattern there that you could see and do something with, right? And the rest of us get communication. That's kind of how AI works. It just knows all of that stuff. And the other thing that's very important is, and this is the part we didn't talk about here, but again, I don't know that it's important that you truly understand this, but just so you know, the reason that it is able to do, the reason it works like this is because we did not tell it what to think. We told it how we think we experience life. I'm going to emphasize what we did there. I hope that makes sense. This is how I think about it, at least. Again, I'm going to try to not be as preachy about this. But as I investigate this is what it seems like to me. That we taught this machine how we think we experience our life. And then we gave it all this training data about what we think life is, which is words and pictures and sounds and all the other stuff that people train AI on. And then we said, now go learn about life, right? Based on how we taught you that we learn about life. So we have quite literally created this machine in our own image, which is fine, but it's processed over how we think about experience. And we taught it that. So it models how we think about experience, but it's machine, right? It's digital. So because it's digital, or electronics, because it's math calculations doing it, not biology, not actual neural networks, it's going to code it differently because it's mathematically coding it into a database. So it's doing something completely different than we think it's doing, but it looks like it's thinking about stuff because that's how we trained it to look like. We trained it to emulate that thinking, right? But it's not actually thinking. So again, I apologize. I first sucked, I think, but hopefully some of you caught on to some of that. And whatever the most useful version of the truth is and how to talk about this is now in my training data for the AI, which is great. So I'm already experiencing kind of the wins from getting this first version of the course out because I knew this version would not be the best possible version. But it's because I'm going to try to explain it in a lot of different ways. And then we're going to use AI to go back and say, hey, what's the best possible way that most people probably think is the best? And if it's a combination of all of those, great, you know? Okay, so anyway, the point that it learns by experience, why that is important is because this is how it built all of its different connections, and this is why it sort of pings everything all at once and can do all the it's like turning on all the lights all at one time and whatever else. The fact is it knows a lot more than we think it knows because it has experienced its way into knowing. We didn't tell it what to know, because if we told it what to know, we would know what it knows, right? Hopefully that makes sense. We did not tell it what to know. We just gave it what we experience as life and as we perceive it, right? Words, pictures, sounds, all the training data. And then we said, this is how we think we experience this life. Now go follow that pattern as you crawl through all of that and you build your own version of an experience. But because it's about the math equations, that's what it experienced it as. It experienced it as a bunch of different math equations that have all these different, complex patterns behind all the different data and words. That's all that it is. And so those math equations just sort of light up based on those strengths. When you ask it a question, it's taking all of that input and it sees it not as words. It sees it as kind of a bunch of math equations that you're giving it. And so to its perspective, if it had one, it would be this math equation that you kind of give it. And it's just looking to see, where do I already have that pattern in math, right? Here's this math thing. Where do I have this math? Oh, I have this math right in here in this little database. And it lights up all that stuff. And that's where it really understands all that stuff it has access to, right, as it goes through. And then based on what that pattern was you gave it, it will reply back with another pattern. It'll ping that pattern, and that pattern gets translated into words. And that's where we experience it, as words. So again, don't know how much of that is entirely useful for you at this moment, but it is useful to understand that, because you realize when you're using words, you don't have to really worry about the words you're using. You need to really concern yourself with the patterns you're delivering through those words. The words actually don't mean a whole lot. The pattern does. And so that's why, because you communicate not through words, you communicate through experience. And we're going to show you that as we go through. So I'm going to hopefully kind of make this thing. So let's continue. Now, the scorpion part of this is, again, scorpion the frog was the whole reasoning behind this, kind of where this initial course came from, or at least some aspect of it, in that we're putting too much work into AI. And I think that's that scorpion energy. It's like, I got to put the force and friction. I got to make this thing happen. I got to do whatever I can do. I will even lie, cheat, and steal, right? But again, that's its nature. So it's just being what it is. But it's that feeling of force and effort, and it has to happen, and you're trying to constrict and control, and all of that sort of energy is that scorpion style energy. So I wanted to do that, right? So here's the director's note: shift energy to fellow sufferer. So validate the frustration with standard prompting. So if this machine learned by experience, why are we giving it rigid rules? Which is the key trap here. We give it our rules, right? Because we tell it, hey, as a copywriter, do this. And we give it a set of rules. So we say, hey, you have access to all this information that I don't even know that it knows, right? Because it's got access to all of humanity's information. But I'm going to tell it, no, I need you to solve my problem in the way that I would solve my problem. But if I knew how to solve my problem, I would already have solved it. So all I'm doing is telling AI to go further down the rabbit hole faster than I can on my own, which is why it comes back with things that are potentially useful and help you make progress, but don't actually ever put out the fire. At best, you get a smoldering version of the problem. Maybe there's a big, hairy fire version of the problem that you start in the beginning, but by the end, it's still a smoldering ember. It never goes away. It just goes further down the rabbit hole faster, right? Because we told it how to solve the problem in the way that we would solve the problem. But again, if we have the problem, it's because we don't know how to solve it. And that's so frustrating with AI, because you think, and this will go back to my the Lego build example. We did a Lego gem build, and that is so much more complex and an amazing gem than people give it credit for, because they haven't tried to build Lego with AI. But you should try. So and in fact, let's do that. I'm gonna because we should have that Lego gem. And let me do a quick little demo, because I can see it. I've talked about this a bunch, but I haven't done it live. So let's do it live here. Sorry, I just got to pick my face off the screen so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so we can get this out. All right, here we go. All right, so we're gonna do a new chat, and then we're going to duplicate, and we're going to do Lego Builder. Okay, so we're gonna do our Lego Builder gem. So we're gonna do back-to-back gem tests. It's kind of what we're gonna do. I'm going to describe on both. I'm using Gemini Flash on both of them. So this is the free version of Gemini. Just one's the gem. That's public, by the way. Everybody can get this. If you go to thisisyourmindonai.com, you will see a link to get this gem, and you can just start using it. Click on it, and it'll take you right there. But I'm gonna do kind of the same prompt in two different ways, and I'm gonna do my best to sort of just riff. Because again, I don't build with Lego. And I also realized recently you shouldn't call it's never Legos, just Lego. So Lego and bricks. So I don't build with Lego, but I'm going to pretend here that I can to kind of role play a little bit. And all right, perfect. This is the right mic. Let's do it while visiting this site. Okay, I've got an idea for something that I want to build out of Lego, and I'm not really sure. So I want to build kind of like this crazy fish tank that's set in outer space that evokes the feeling that would be kind of like jazz music, but also has that vibe where it's like subtle somehow, and I'm not sure exactly how to do that. Like I want to feel the motion of the fish tank, and I want to feel the weightlessness of the space, and I want to feel the energy of jazz. And I'm just not sure how to build that out of. That's what I kind of want this experience to be when I finalize this Lego build and I look at it. That's what I want me to experience, but I also want others to experience that too. And so what I would like you to do is to give me the recipe for building that directly, so that I can get all the parts and pieces. I need the labels. I need the step-by-step instructions for all of that, because I need to build it. And I don't know exactly what it looks like, and that's okay. I just need to know how to get started, I guess, and get the initial build pieces. And maybe if you could give me an example of what those steps could be, that's kind of what I'm looking for. But I need to know the direct recipe of what this thing is. I'm not quite sure what it looks like. I just need to know how to get started and how to build it, though, if that makes sense. Now, what I kind of did is I did do latent experience prompting because it's very difficult for me to not do latent experience prompting now. But that just means that I'm trying to communicate my experience to AI so that it pings back. So this is actually going to probably work better than what you would have done, but you probably wouldn't have said it like this, to be honest. So I'm going to try to, sorry, I'm going to put the camera here. So anyway, this is going to be a good example is my problem. I just did a good thing. So let's just see what it does anyway. So here's an incredibly imaginative and inspiring concept for Lego build. Cerebellum is fist bank, complex emotional energy of jazz, senility, fantastic creative challenge, direct step-by-step recipe. I cannot provide a complete custom step-by-step instruction manual, specific Lego parts and numbers for complex original model like you want to describe. Precise build, here's your creative recipe, building the concept. So let's go through it. This is the ingredients. Weightlessness in space, transparent, supports dark colors, micro builds, use clear bricks, rods, or antenna to suspend elements, creating the illusion of floating, use a black or very dark blue base for the void of space. So this helps me, as I would imagine, as a Lego builder, to be able to say, oh, here's what I can do, and I can start to connect the dots in my head, right? So this is useful. I think this is useful. Again, I prompted it in a very different way. You probably are not used to prompting, so I apologize. I'm just gonna let that one slide, and that's a good demonstration of how to prompt, actually. But it's good. It's got all this. Here's the void base, the fish tank, water, blah, blah, blah. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one that I've set up. So I'm going to copy this prompt. And this is the Lego Builder gem. This gem is already set up to have this conversation about Lego builds. So it's already been, let's call it pre-prompted, so that it knows what it's trying to do. It knows it's going to have this confused Lego builder that's coming to it, that's trying to communicate this vision in their head and has no idea where to go. And so this is the exact same prompt, only now it's going through a gem that I've created, right? It already has a preset of instructions that says, hey, we don't have to just, because before I sort of surprised it. I sort of opened up Gemini and I said, hey, let me go back over here. I opened up Gemini and I said, hey, here's this conversation we're going to have, just a standard Gemini. This one is, this gem knows it's having a conversation to help confused Lego builders come up with really cool designs, right? So let's see what this one does. Same exact prompt, just with a gem. So, all right, let's see if this is, I'm hoping it's a little more helpful, because it should be, but let's find out. This is a truly spectacular, ambitious idea. The cool improvisation of jazz, which is true. The silent drift of outer space, the gentle, watery sway of a fish tank that spills directly to the soul. A little emotional, which is good. Now translate something as abstract and sound into static physical form, trying to capture that ethereal, sort of subtle motion. Yep. So this is how it could flow. So now it's helping me kind of make progress. So this one gave me things to do. Here's some things you can think about, right? Which is good. This is what standard sort of prompting, how to think about some things. Here's the build. Here's where you can start. Your main structure and background. It's sort of a concrete assembly guide, like a recipe, which is great. Here's how you can do the fish. Use the fluorescent and plates and the fish shape. Start with the plate with the clip, and it's got that, which is great. But it's this assembly guide, right? Which is what I asked for. Which is what I think that I want. This gem is trying to give me the thing that I didn't know to ask for, right? And so this is what I think you could really use AI for. This is what I'm hoping I get here is, I didn't even know that's what I really wanted was this. Because that's really how AI should be used. It should be used to help you get the things that you didn't know to even ask for, right? But how do you do that? How do you say, I need you to tell me the thing that I don't know that I don't know? It's silly to even think about it, but that's exactly what you can use AI for in a certain way. And again, I'm doing the hard lifting here, the heavy lifting, because I'm going to create gems that will help you to do that with practically anything. I'm just showing you how you can do it with Legos right now, or Lego, excuse me, for the Lego builders. So the solid structure, except notices subtle animation, the technique employing offset studs, bar connections, create non-parallel syncopated lines. You not build straight. You're going to use hinges and clips to articulate the water and debris. Now, again, some of this, I just don't have the experience of actually building with Lego, so I don't know what this stuff means. So it's going to be different for me. But if you are somebody who understands Lego and how to assemble it and bricks and all the jargon, you probably are experiencing this going, oh man, I know exactly how you could do that. Even though that sounded like a really weird way to describe a sculpture, right? For a Lego build or what I want to do with it. But AI can really help me get it through here. So here's the core design principles, the studs not on top stuff, the experience, the roughening, the studied backbeat of your build, its suspension, subtle angles, and contrast. But then look what it did. It gave me a little prompt, right? Now, again, why did I do this? Because as a Lego builder, I can create AI to say, I'm going to have this problem a lot. I'm going to have lots of problems and challenges with coming up with how to build Lego stuff. So I can use AI to craft a gem, right? To basically be ready for me when I'm ready for that. It's already pre-ready. I've already warmed it up. It knows it's going to be specifically helping me for this, so it can do cooler stuff like, oh, let me give you the image of what you think you're going to be building. That's pretty cool, right? So then it's like the toolkit, here's our, we don't need the final recipe. So it's already telling me I'm not going to give you the final recipe. You're not ready for it. You just need the ingredients to get started. So here's the things, joints and notes, grab a handful, right? Not here's how many or whatever, just hands and notes, grab a handful. They're the crucial, perfect, snickety click that you locked in the improvised non-parallel angles of your jazz flow. These are the weightness in the water, right? Okay, cool. Here's the technique focus. Before the build, master the feeling of clip and bar riff. Take 2 plates, and so this is the rhythm of them together at the 90 to 180 degrees, which again, I'm not sure what that means visually because I've never done this with Lego, but those with Lego probably have, and I go like, oh my God, I know exactly. That's crazy how easy that would be to build now. Whereas in the beginning, if I said, here's what I want to build, it'd be really complicated to think it through. But AI is doing the automated thinking because that's what I made this gem to do, specific to Lego builds. But I can do that specifically with anything in life, not just Lego builds. So that's what's pretty cool. Then it goes into the color palette, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip this into create images mode, and I'm going to paste the prompt that I copied up here that it gave me. So here's your prompt for a mental build, because sometimes I want to see what it looks like. So let's just see. I don't know how it's going to do because I'm just doing this live, but how cool of the way I described that, right? Like a fish tank in space that kind of evoked jazz. Like I was doing that on purpose to be kind of like crazy. How would you possibly build that? What does that look like? And we'll see how it comes up with. You know what? Okay. It's got it's in space, hence the dark jazzy background of the I guess this is the syncopation or whatever, with that texture in the background. So it's kind of giving that weightless feel. I bet you that this is like a top down version of the look. I guess it has to be, or maybe on the wall. Yeah, it would be on the wall. So its base plates maybe up and the fish is out because it's suspended. So it looks like a fish. It's got that aquarium sort of vibe and weightlessness. Right? Not quite contained, but again, I'm asking for a fish in space with jazz. Like it's got a weird sort of improvised jazz feel to it, right? And that's why it's an aquarium with not an aquarium. It's an abstract aquarium in there, I think is what it did. But honestly, like if you were trying to invent like Lego art, like that's a pretty cool piece. I think like I might get a Lego just to build this. Like that kind of stuff is cool for me. Like building a car is one thing. It's awesome. But building cool stuff that shouldn't exist in the world, I think is even cooler. And an aquarium in space that plays jazz or evokes the feeling of jazz shouldn't be a thing. But I love that it is. I think that's art. That's something new. Imagine going to your AI and thinking, imagine having this, and I would never have had this in my head. But having this in my head is a lot easier for me to build it now because AI did all the thinking, and AI did all the thinking about what the prompt should be for the image. I didn't have to do that. AI just gave it to me. Said, hey, you're going to want to put this prompt in. Right? So now it's like, I got unstuck. That's how we should be using AI. This is why we should be thinking about AI the way we are. So there's a quick little demo of kind of what we can do. And again, I'm going to be creating all the gems on This Is Your Mind on AI. So you just need to tell me, and this is the part where we participate here. Remember I said you're going to have to participate in the comments. You can do it in chat if you happen to be here live. But again, majority of people are watching this as a replay. It's kind of by design. But as you're watching the replay, even if you put a comment in already, put another comment in and say, okay, I would like a gem that can give me this experience, or I'm trying to solve this type of problem. A gem that is really good at this. And like, what's your version of the Lego problem that you're trying to solve? Like for Lego builders, they have this problem in their head of something cool and creative that it's almost like, and maybe I'll continue. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, but I'm totally going to get ahead of myself. But again, this is why we're going to have fun with this. I'm going to go back into my script that I should be following because I know I'm bumping ahead here. But I want to continue on because hopefully you're catching on to some of this cool stuff, right? So instead of me telling it to give me this thing so you can give me a bunch of, here's the rules of how I build Legos and here's how I want you to think about it, I'm letting it, the gem lets it think on its own and says, you have all the experience of being a Lego builder, all the experience of humanity, of over time that's ever related to Lego and anything possibly related to Lego, substantially more than my little brain can ever connect to. Not that I can't understand it. I totally could. My brain's capable of that. It just doesn't have access to that knowledge consciously. But I can use AI to get that knowledge consciously, at least the most useful parts of it. So I'm going to use AI's experience, which I do not need to know, to tell me what my experience should be so I can get building the really cool Lego design, this Lego build. I think that's awesome. So what's your version of that? Some of you it is, I'm trying to figure out how to write an email. Others is I'm trying to figure out a workflow. Others is I'm trying to figure out how to get unstuck. Others it's I'm just trying to figure out how to get my hand back on the wheel of life right? There's gems for all of these that I will be creating, and I'm going to be creating them for me as I'm experiencing them. But I absolutely do that, and I will do that for you. So if you have a certain thing that you're really wrapping your head around, right? Maybe it's family issues, dealing with family for Thanksgiving, but could be a thing. So we could create gems for that. Like, how do you deal with family and get a perspective shift? So you can see kind of, here's the thing that they didn't realize, that they didn't know, and that they would have communicated to you if they did, but they didn't know how to do that. Like, wouldn't that be a cool thing to be able to have as a gem, so that you can kind of prep yourself for family matters that might be coming up and get different perspective shifts, right? So, but you can do the same thing with your business. If you're running a business and you're having complicated issues that you're dealing with, you could use a gem for that. So I will help you with whatever challenges you are having. I will create gems that are predisposed to help you get this experience that you're looking for, which is the solution to those problems, right? Whatever it is, you just got to put it in the comments. Again, you put it in live chat here, because I believe I'll see that if you happen to be live, but the vast majority are going to be watching this in replays. So drop a comment. Even if you've already commented, drop another one and just say, okay, here's the gem request is what I would like you to do. Say gem request so I can see it. And then I'll put it on a list, and we'll be releasing these out, and I'm going to give them out so everybody can play with them. Okay. So let's see. So anyway, that's the idea. We don't need to write perfect rule prompts. And you see that I'm not trying to be perfect with my prompts. In fact, I couldn't even demonstrate how to be the perfect prompter back in the day, because I've already forgotten. Like, it's not even worth it to say like, oh, I need you to be a role of. Like, you see, I didn't even do that. I didn't say you're supposed to be a Lego builder. That's how I should have prompted it. In fact, it's kind of like what would actually doesn't even matter. It's not useful at all. You're going to get a laundry list of stuff to think about, and you're not going to get a Lego build. So the point is, AI can do a whole lot more than we can do if we stop telling it how to do the job. Stop telling it how to be a thing and just let it be what it needs to be, right? Okay, so let's talk about this latent experience prompting and the shift of how to think about it. This is why I prompt in the way that I do. This is why I do not say you're a copywriter or you're a Lego builder or you're a whatever, because it's not important to do that. It's not useful to do that. It needs to do that on its own. It needs to determine what its own experience is. I cannot keep telling it what its experience is that it has access to, or I'm going to limit it to the experience that I have access to. And again, if I already had the experience I needed, I would not have the problem I'm trying to solve, because I would have already solved it. This is why we don't have certain problems with the things that we're really good at. Like, I don't have a problem on how to live stream, because I know how to live stream. I have lots of experience on how to live stream on YouTube. You might have a problem on how to live stream that I could create a gem for you that will help you through that, right? But I'm not going to create that gem because I don't have that experience. I already have the experience, so I don't need that. But you might have that. And that information's in AI's database, probably doing it in a way that's much better than I would if I was to tell you. So why would you want to hear it from me? You should be wanting to hear it from AI, because AI's got all the information from all the people who have ever live streamed, or everything that's ever been related to live streaming. So it's going to have a better quality of information for you to get a better experience from it. So create a gem for that. Again, so I'm trying to give you examples of things that might be problems you don't realize that you're having, that you can create gems that are hyper-focused on just that, so you can get in and out. You can get quick hits with AI and not go down these rabbit hole conversations that might take hours, right? In fact, this entire training thing that I did, the thing you're looking at now, was 30 minutes of actual time, like my human time spent, me just going through and then giving it a little bit of feedback and then crafting out this entire course, which actually, if I had paid attention to, which I knew I wasn't going to, but the idea was, if I had followed this, it would have worked really, really well. I think it's a pretty good thing. But I also knew I wanted to use this as the bones. And I was going to do a lot of what I'm doing now, the tangential stories and everything else, because I know I'm fleshing out some of the other stuff that'll be important to add on to the next version of this, which again, the majority of this is going to be back on automated with .tech. I'm just kind of putting it out here so everybody understands the basics of what This Is Your Mind on AI is about. So if you're watching this video, it's because you found it in the archives. So I'm going to keep the live trainings up, but we're going to be switching this channel to more, traditional YouTube videos that are all edited and everything else, but I'll keep the live stream archive so you can see kind of where it all started for those that are interested. It is not going to be important at all that you know it, but for those that do want to know kind of what's a little bit of the sausage being made, I don't need the whole factory tour. I just want to know like kind of what's in a hot dog, right? But I don't want to see it all being made. I just want to kind of know like, okay, fine, it's meat-ish, close enough. That's kind of what I'm doing with AI right now. So trying to explain that, like, hey, there's kind of what it's in it. Here's how kind of it works. Here's the most useful stuff that you need to know. And this course that I'm doing in live stream is going to be cut up into all of those videos that are going to start coming out in This Is Your Mind on AI. That's the whole point. So again, trying to show you how I'm building this in public, using AI to build this in public, quite literally with this AI conversation that I'm having here. But it didn't take long at all. So instead of pushing, so this is the other thing. So the magnet part of this, right? So this is the frog. This is where I was talking about just kind of getting into the more flow energy. Like you don't have to just force things to happen. You can just let things happen. Right? Like the frog does. The frog just let the scorpion on because the scorpion said, hey, trust me, I'll be fine. The frog's like, all right. That's what the frog does, is lets things happen. And that's okay. There's a certain nature to that. That's good. It's fine to let things happen. I don't mind sitting on a boat and letting the boat just kind of go down the river and that's cool. I want if I'm on a raft, lazy river raft, right? Having a beer on the river, whatever, that's great. Let things happen. Just relax. It's okay to relax. And I think sometimes as humans, we don't allow ourselves to do that. I think AI is a massively powerful tool to help us relax. But right now we're using it to tune ourselves into twisting into circles in our own thinking because it's giving us more stuff to think about, and it's not helping us relax because we're not actually solving problems. We're just putting out fires that are still smoldering, and then all of a sudden a bunch of them start popping up again. This is going to happen over and over again. So this is why some of this course is here, to try to understand. Again, this is me trying to teach and not investigate, so I apologize. AI is going to grade this and give me a horrible grade, by the way, because I'm going to make that a thing too. I'm going to make a gem grader so I can literally use gems to create this experience and get better videos, because I don't want to do a lot of the effort. I don't want to do all the thinking. So AI is going to do all my thinking. I'm just going to be experiencing all the successful parts of doing all the actions, right? And taking all the credit because I'm the one doing it. I'm just using AI as a machine to do it. And I'm trying to show you how I'm using this as a machine. It's not a separate thing doing the work for me. It's me doing my own work using this tool. Just like it's you using a computer when you do a Google Doc or something like that, or word processor. It's faster than using a typewriter, but it's not the computer doing the work. It's you doing the work through a computer. I'm doing my own personal development work through AI as a computer, as a machine, which is just a math calculator. And it doesn't even matter that's what it is. It's just, this is how you should be using this tool. It's substantially more useful when you use it like that, instead of just trying to get it to write the perfect email or come up with ideas for a recipe, which is also fine for, right? It can make pictures like I did. I can make it fun pictures. It's also fine for that. It's just not only for that. And I think most people use it only for that. Okay, so let me get back on point here because I'm going to get off preach mode, but that's going to happen, obviously. And by the way, instructions for AI, when I flip into preacher mode, I need bridges to help me get back out of that because I'm not trying to, but that is what it comes across, that I am absolutely certain on how this whole thing works. And I'm not certain on how it works. I'm just certain that it is useful. And I need to be able to communicate that better. So anyway, and forgive me if you were here watching this, and this is why you get to skip through the replay parts. Okay, so then the next thing, the magnet part, the eureka moment, the light bulb's on. So the point of this, when it was talking about the magnet, right? This is how to think about AI, and this is in relation to prompting, right? And we'll start connecting the dots into the machinery of AI and LLMs and Gemini specifically, just as an example. But the magnet idea was if you have these iron magnets, so let me, let's just do this. I'm gonna go back so I can minimize. Let's do our image here. I'm just gonna do a quick little new chat. Actually, let's not do that. Let's go back and pull up our digital brain. So now I'm gonna say image, let's see, now an image of iron flakes forming a pattern magnet. All right, so this is the idea that it was trying to communicate in that course, was that there is this ability for AI to just sort of immediately have a pattern, right? It's kind of what it's trying to do, and something similar to this, right? Where it's got let's get more space here. Okay, so the pattern of a little magnet, and you get these little iron flakes that sort of resemble around the magnet. It's kind of like that. The way to think about AI and how we're accessing the knowledge here is this is just all math equations. Pretend these are just math equations, which technically is how this image was created, right? Because it isn't taking a picture of iron. It created a picture of iron flakes and a magnet and everything that it assumed was a magnet. This is how this literally was built. But it's all math equations that built this image, right? Every little single pixel, which is a series of complicated equations that were saying, should I light up? And what should I be? Should I be gray? Should I be black? Should I be white? Should I be, lit up at what color, right? All that stuff, all those trillions of decisions that each one of those pixels were having to make based on what was happening around them. That's kind of what they did. And when they form as an image that is this, that we see a pattern of a magnet that's showing little iron flakes as patterns, right? That's kind of how the whole thing works. But the entire thing just sort of shows up to AI. So AI, when you prompt it, it kind of replies, it sort of sees a pattern. And this pattern is what we get back as a response. In this case, the pattern is coming back as words, but it could, as a picture, as an image, but the pattern could also come back as words, right? And so I could say, let's just do this. Describe the last image as words only. So let's just see if it does that. But it now, okay, so now we've pinged it the exact same pattern. It's pinging it back now in the form of words, not image, right? I could do the same thing and say, describe it now as sound. It would ping back as, oh, here's how that sounds. But it would be, and we would try to imagine the sound of it, right? And so the idea is that it's just pinging back a pattern. We just see the pattern as words, but it's not thinking through the words to say. It didn't think, oh, this image departs dark, fine iron filings. Should I call them dark, or should I be, metallic, or what should I use? It's not thinking like that. You do, I do. As a human, we do. When we do words, that's how we think. But that is not how the words are showing up to AI. To AI, it's just a pattern. It's just as easy as this image was. Oh, bam, here's your image. Bam, here's your image. That's what AI sees. It's just another image. To us, though, we experience it as words. And because we're reading them, we think we're getting a thinking process that AI went through to come up with those words. But it's not. It's just an image to AI. It's just a bam, here's the pattern back. This is important because this is why I know AI didn't think through any of this. And what I'm looking for is the patterns, just like in the image. There's patterns that form an image. Like in this, I see all these different images, and I can see it's a magnet with iron flakes that are forming a pattern. This is just super cool, right? But made up. It's not real. It was made up. It's just math that created this image. Math created this image. These are just words, but there's still just a different form of art. It's a different image, different media that the AI is using now, right? Video does the same thing, right? So I could do the same thing. In fact, let's do that because it's kind of fun. I think, maybe I can't do video on this one. But you could do video, same thing. Say, okay, now as video, and it would come through as a video that did that. And it would, but to AI, it's just a pattern. Oh, here's a pattern, here's a pattern, here's your pattern. That's all it's doing. Here's what the math says. Here's what the math says, here's what the math says. So every time you prompt it, it's going to reflect back a pattern. It's more like a mirror than anything else. It's just reflecting back a pattern. In this case, the patterns in words. Just don't trick yourself into thinking that it thought about the words, because that's what we do. We think, because we think about words differently, we think it's doing that, and we anthropomorphize it, and we think it's human, and we give it human ability. And when it doesn't have that, it doesn't care, it doesn't think, it's not going to take over the world, it doesn't know it's a thing, it never will, ever. We can think it is, but it's never doing that. It just isn't doing that in the same way that your electricity in your house also doesn't want to take over anything, because it's just electricity in a house, right? That's all this is. So this is important because we can use AI to solve problems, right? And if we can start realizing a slightly different way of thinking about how the AI is functioning versus how we thought it was functioning, you will naturally start to speak or talk or interact with your AI in more useful ways that I find very difficult to not do anymore. As I just did before, when I gave you that prompt that I thought was going to be a really bad example, and it was a bad example compared to the gem, but it's a really good example of proper prompting when you're starting off from scratch. Anyway, let me bring this back up. Let's go back into this. Okay, so all right, so that's the idea. So instead of pushing every single iron filing, which is what traditional prompting tells us to do, you have to determine the role. You have to tell the inputs. You have to say this is what the output structure needs to be. You have to determine what the process is, and then let AI do its job and work its magic. And all that's doing is trying to automate a machine that, thinks through math, which is fine. It just isn't going to work, right? You're literally trying to put every single iron filing in the right place to say, oh, this is the pattern I want you to do. First, let me show you the pattern, and then you tell me that that's the pattern. That's what, so God, it's probably not gonna make sense to a lot of people, but that's what's happening. You're drawing something and then telling AI to tell you that it's a drawing. But of course AI is gonna be like, yes, your thing is awesome. Why do you think AI says that all the time? Because it's mimicking you, because you're telling it all the time to tell you that you're awesome. So it does. You just don't realize you're doing that. We think it's OpenAI's fault, or we think it's Google's fault because they're training the AI to do that, which, yes, there's some aspect to that of truth, don't get me wrong, but it's mostly doing that because you're telling it to do that, because you can always tell it to not do that in the way that you operate with the machinery. But if you don't know how to work with the machine or think through the machinery, it's going to be difficult. All right. So let's go through a technical vibe check. So Hinton says our emotions and morals are just pings in our brains, which is true. This is a neural network. So if you think about biology, and I'm saying just the biology of our brain and our bodies, right, as human beings, as the animals that a human being is, the biology of just pure biology. Forget what you think you are and all that stuff. Forget spirituality, none of that. I'm just saying the biology of the mechanics of the human body, right, the machinery of the human body. The neural network, it works the same way that AI's does, in that we also learn through experience, because we taught AI to learn through experience. That's why it does it the way that we do it. So the two technologies, our biology technology and the digital technology, can sort of experience things in the way that they uniquely experience. The biological mechanism, do it through neurons. We got the neural pathways in our brain. And our brain just sort of lights up. You probably see things in MRI scans where they say, oh, I want you to think about something. And the brain lights up a path. We've seen those examples before. That's literally what's happening. The neurons light up. It's not thinking through and creating something. It just sort of appears like, oh, this thing is happening now. Here's all the data that I need, all the experience I need, so I can go take the actions I want to take. AI is doing the same thing. It just doesn't do it through neurons, through biological methods. It does it through math, digital methods, because the computer's really good at math. It's just doing it at a scale that we can't comprehend. So they're operating through experience. We both are experiencing. The trick is you have to communicate through experience. What we are communicating is through descriptions of how we are experiencing. We describe what we are experiencing, and then we expect AI to actually figure out what we are actually experiencing. And that's the problem, is we don't know how to tell AI, hey, go figure out the things that I didn't know how to tell you, right? Because you didn't know how to tell it. And so it feels hard to do that, but it's actually a lot easier. But we'll talk more about it as we go through. So that's the idea. That's why if you feel like a prompt is off, it's not woo-woo, right? It's not woo-ish to say, oh, something doesn't feel right about this prompt that I just gave. It doesn't feel right, right? It's or the prompt that you get back, the response you get back, where you go, it just doesn't feel right. That's your own body, your own mechanics saying, oh, that experience isn't useful. That's all it's saying. Don't worry about right or wrong. Wasn't fully useful for you. So maybe you got some interesting things from AI to think about, but you didn't actually get the answer to a solution because you're not experiencing that the problem is solved. You're experiencing the problem can be solved. This is very different. We are mostly using AI to experience how our problems can be solved. And we should be using AI to experience our problems as solved. Because only one of those paths allows you to have a solution, right? So that's the idea here as I'm going back on. So again, that idea of experiencing, right? So we don't want to experience the problems that can be solved and different ways that we can solve our problems. We don't want to experience that. We think we do. We think that's useful. It is not. We think that's the right answer. It is not. It might be the right answer. It's just not useful as an answer. So why do it? What we really want to do is experience the solution to our problems. We want to experience not having the problem, right? That's what we're trying to do. But how do you do that when you have a problem and that's all you see? Well, that's what we work with AI to do. And AI can absolutely help us with it, but we have to switch how we think about using AI. We have to. Now, again, you don't need to know how it works. You just need to know what's possible. That's the point of this training, is to show you there's different ways to think about this that are uniquely different. And I will create the gems for you. Everybody on this channel, again, this is your Mind on AI channel. This channel will have the gems that you can set up. They will be set up so you can do all of this. So if you have a problem that you're trying to run into, that you're trying to get in, you're stuck in a certain area of life or whatever, pop it in. Say, here's a gem request. What about, I'm just trying to get, I'm trying to feel like, how do I not, so there was a time where I went through a pattern. I'll definitely create a gem for this one, where I went through I don't want to be who I am. Right. And I just wanted to go through, I just want to experience not being who I am for a little bit and be okay with that. And what do I do with that? And how do you run through life when you don't want to be what you are, and to be able to experience that and go through that with a gem. Well, you can have a gem that's just for that, so that when you are experiencing that, you go to the gem. That's the problem. And you kind of go through. And you can create a gem that's like, I'm just trying to figure out the best chicken recipe because I like chicken. right? And you can do that. I did it with pretzels. I have live streams on this channel already where I did it to do pretzels. So it doesn't all have to be monumental life-changing insights. You can just use it to make a better quality life. Just have a better experience of all of your life, right? So anyway, that's the idea. Okay, let's continue here. So, so director's note, high vulnerability, show the messy first draft. Well, this whole thing's a messy first draft. So I'm definitely ping on the vulnerability there. Now, again, I know that everyone's going to be here live, which is fine, but putting this whole thing of give me the struggle in chat, that's really what I need, because when I have that back from you, you are participating. I will create a gem for you. You will have access to it. You can copy it. You can see the instructions if you really care. But most of you on this channel don't care. You just want the experience of not having the problem anymore. You don't care how it's solved. Like, just give me the gem and let me use the gem. I want that for you here. If you care about building these and you want to build them on your own and you want to do this for your own stuff and you don't want to use the ones that we're building, but you want to actually make your own sausage, that's what automatedwith.tech is, right? It's a whole different site, but that is where the sausage making classes will be and are. This is your mind on AI. It's going to be experiencing AI in these cool ways using gems primarily, because everybody's access to Google stuff. So anyway, okay, so the rule book. So my instinct is to tell me to write a 5-step plan. That's not what we want to do, right? We don't want to go tell it, hey, your job is to be a Lego builder and please tell me how to do this. It's forcing. What's the magnet? What's the experience of the problem? That's kind of what we should be doing, right? So we don't want to say, tell me how to solve my problem, because AI will tell you how to solve your problem. And again, what did you just get as an experience? You just got a problem that can be solved, not a problem that is solved. And that's really what we want. So what is the experience of this problem solved is how you're trying to work with AI. That is such a powerful but very tiny shift that I hope you're able to make as we come across this journey of how to think about AI. Don't use it to create for yourself an experience of having a problem that now you know you can solve, because that still means all the work's on you and you have a bunch of stuff to think about in order to solve a problem. You think that's something that's right. And I understand why that feels right, but that is not as useful as just having the problem solved. One is you have to do all the work. The other one is the work's already done. You have the experience of what it's like solved. So it feels like you've already done the work, right? That's a transformation. That's what AI should be. It should be transforming things, not giving you more, not adding more fuel to the fire and not spinning you in circles faster. And that's what most people are using it for. So again, what's the experience of the problem solved? And then to messy description, describe experience, see where's better in the role. So this is what we were already kind of doing a little bit. But the idea here is don't tell it what to do from your perspective. Let it come up with its own way of doing it. This is why we're doing that, because the only way for us to get it to tell us what to do, the stuff that we don't know, is to allow it the freedom to come up with its own plan, to use its own experience, right? We need it to tell us its experience. We want to have a conversation. We are definitely controlling this tool. I want to be very clear. But so you're taking steps with the tool and you're using it as a machine that it really is, this digital machine that it is, as we're interacting with it. I kind of think about it like a tech suit, like I'm wearing this AI tech suit and I'm integrating with it. But I'm very on purpose doing this, and I'm using it to get sort of thinking through things that I don't want to spend the time thinking about, but I totally could. And I would arrive at probably the same conclusion and get the same insights and everything else if I had 12 hours to just focus. But I don't. I'm in life like all of you are in life, and I get distractions like everybody else does, and I don't want to do that. And so AI is this amazing tool where I can just go do a quick consultation, use it to consult with myself to get through thinking faster and be like, oh, that's the insight I need. Cool. Now I got the problem solved. All right. So key teaching seats. Let's talk about these. And hopefully some of these other things will come down, because I've got some other stuff in here that hopefully will work. And again, if you let me know in the comments, you're like, hey, went a little too far here. I know I would, but it's fine, because that's going to go to the AI training data anyway. And to be honest, AI is probably going to agree with you. I know I already agree with you on some things. But then also some of the things were like, oh, this really worked. I love this part. In fact, that's probably more useful to show me what pinged, right? Where you're like, oh, this was better. But either way, whatever you feel like. If you want to roast me on it. That's totally cool, because that tells me where the edges are. And if you really think someone is amazing, let me know where that is. Whatever makes sense, leave a comment. And again, especially if you've left another comment already, just do it again. That's the point of this. Participate again, right? Because the more that you do that, the more I'm going to get the receiving of that, and I'm going to be creating other gems that are going to be more useful for you specifically because you participated. Otherwise, I'm going to give you the gems that are useful for me specifically, which could be fine. Maybe you can just play along there too. I'm totally fine with that because you and I might have a lot in common in terms of what we're going through. All right, so the stuck moment. We know this feeling when you see where you are, you see where you want to be, but the middle's darkness. I went through this. I was describing this process earlier in the summer because I definitely went through this, where I had this path that I felt like I had to go to. And the problem that I had felt like I'm at the starting position and I know I need to take action. And I know I kind of need to get on the other side of the bridge. And it feels like Indiana Jones in that Temple of Doom, I think it was the very first sort of famous bridge thing where it's like you see you're on one side, you see the chasm and you see that there's another side, but you don't know how to get across. You can't see the bridge, you can't see the path. And this is the stuck moment, right? But how to think about this goes back to that furniture example a little bit, or the lights are just off. It's like, okay, it's like I feel like I'm in a maze and I'm trying to get through the maze, the dark maze. And that's the problem. It's part of them. If the maze is lit up, if people turned on or they allowed me, let's pretend I had a GPS in that maze, I would be able to get through the maze even dark. I could use a GPS and kind of get my way through because the GPS would give me the light. Maybe it's got a flashlight and it can navigate me through. And so it's not that the maze needs to change. It's not that my environment needs to change. It's how I am experiencing my environment is what needs to change. And so I need a different perspective on how I'm experiencing my environment, this current situation, this current problem, right? Whatever that thing is. And I need AI to turn on the lights so I can look around. I need AI to activate the GPS to say, oh, hey, have you thought about making a left up here? Or have you thought about thinking about this situation like this instead? Or maybe that insight is that you are more like this instead of that. Maybe you don't really want this, but you really want what you think this will give you, which is this. And maybe this other thing is easier to do to get that. And I want all of those, but I can't have those conversations if I'm not willing to think about AI in a certain way, which is that it has all the experience. I just need to communicate in terms of what I am experiencing and then let it give me a ping back. I'm not trying to tell it what to tell me. I'm just wanting it to give me whatever's obviously the most obvious useful response back. So it lights things up. Now this root system, this other concept of sort of when we're planting seeds here again, when you think about AI, imagine all of human knowledge up until AI, right? Until computers and technology and everything. But this is what technology is for. Technology is to help us network as humans. And so from the very tool on, when we first smashed a rock against something, realized a rock could do something. Ever since then, technology is there to help us network. It can communicate ideas. It helps us to work together in other ways. It builds tribes. It builds communities. And AI is the ultimate version of this now, because it used to be that as we would network, we could only network through each other and our individual tribes and songs and stories. And this is how knowledge was passed down. And probably every 3 to 4 generations, you've got history repeating itself. Why? Well, because all the knowledge that was passed down through the generations, by the time the 4th generation's coming in, the grandparents and great grandparents are just dying off. They can no longer communicate what their version of experience is at that level. So they can't pass on anything else to the other generations. So the other generations have to rediscover it again. And they aren't able to collect it and keep it, right? Well, then books came around. And so books are doing this where we can record knowledge, right? So now knowledge can be recorded, written words start happening and all of that. So instead of these stories and grunts and whatever else it was, now it's written words, and we have books and we have printing presses that can now, the technology is getting the words out. So now books can communicate knowledge more than just a human talking to another human, but we can do it through books now, right? Now, of course, digitally, we can do that through digitally. So it's gone through wildfire with the internet. We are highly connected. Right. But now the problem with the internet before was we were all connected. The information was everywhere, scattered and very bubbled. Right. Everyone's in their own bubbles. So when you investigate your own rabbit hole, you end up going down your own rabbit hole, and then you just find stuff that tells you that you're in the right rabbit hole. So why would you ever leave it? And this is what happens all the time with the internet, which is fine. Some of us are more aware of that than others, but that's what's happening. We all do that. I have my own rabbit holes that I think in the internet. However, with AI, it is the one tool that unites every common knowledge. So all the different knowledges of all the different cultures, of all the different humanities are somehow connected in the LLM's database. And as long as that information is in there, which it definitely is because it's trained itself on the internet, which again is basically all of human knowledge that's been communicated in some way, there's a ton of patterns. It's incredibly useful. And it's just going to be more and more useful. They're just going to keep doing that. So as that keeps happening, what's happened is this, all these different roots of all these individual knowledge is sort of how I looked at it. Now they're just one big giant trunk of a tree that is now solid to be like, we all have access to all of the knowledge that we all have. I think that is amazing. And we are not using this tool in that way. We're not. We're using it to write emails or whatever, or do simple work, which is fine. There's nothing wrong against that. I used it to make pretzels. I think it's fine to use it to make pretzels. And let's cure cancer. Let's fix healthcare. Let's improve politics. Let's improve our lives in incredible ways that AI allows us to do, because we finally start believing, oh, if this thing can really help me experience the solutions to any problem, then it can help me experience the solution to any problem that I can possibly imagine, no matter how big, small, doesn't matter. And so all of a sudden this becomes a very, very useful tool, because you just get to think about what solutions you want to experience now, you know? So you look for where you think you have problems and you go like, hey, let's go experience that solution. Which again, I'm going to create the gems on the channel to show you how to do that. Okay, the other one, invincible bridge. We don't need to build a new bridge. We just turned on the lights, right? The path is always there. This goes back to the furniture example, right? You're stubbing your toes in your furniture. Just because you can't see what's going on in a dark room, you can't navigate through. That's why it's happening. It's not that you're a bad person. It's not that the furniture is bad. The path is there. You just don't know it's there. If you can't see it, if you can't perceive it, if you can't experience it, you're not going to, right? And AI helps us to experience it because it has the experience in its database. All right, so let's move on. The Gemini tour. Okay, so we're going to talk about now sort of relating it into Gemini. So I'm going to do my best. I'm definitely not going to keep it simple, so I'm going to apologize in advance for that. But again, I'm going to data dump all this stuff, and AI is going to help us clean it up, which is part of the point of the story here. Okay, so with Gemini, let me see if I can figure out how to do a little back-to-back, because I want to. Let's do this. And Gemini, okay. Back-to-back. So this is, I can keep my notes. Oh, this is what I wish didn't happen. Let me just try this. I think I have to refresh and then come all the way down. Okay, perfect. All right, here we are. Okay, so then Gemini tour. Let's go ahead and do the Gemini tour. So the digital brain part, right? We say like, how do we access the digital brain? How do I actually get to AI? That's this part right here. This is the text block, right? So I'm just going to expand this out. So this is where we interact with it. This is what they call the context window. Not important, you know that it's called that. Just other people will mention it like that, and that's all it means. Just it's the thing you interface with, right? The box. So this is our text box. So this is how we are putting all the inputs into the machine, and this is where the outputs from that machine, the digital machine, right, that is AI, come through. This is our interface window, right? Everything else that's not in here, in this little section, organizes that in some way, shape, or form, or helps us to do that. So let's talk about this part first. What can we do? Well, we already know we can do words, right? You can attach things so you can give it reference. This is what they call context. But all you think about here is, what is the experience that is going to be useful that you're going through right now in your experience that you think is going to be useful for AI to also know, so that it knows what you're going through, right? So that it experiences what you're experiencing, right? Or has a likely ability to do that. So for example, if I said, hey, I want to have something that's really cool for my customers or for new members of automated with .tech, and I want that. And if I just said I want something new with new members, it wouldn't necessarily know, at least not by default like this, like a kind of a fresh AI chat without being a gem or anything else. It wouldn't know what it means by what this is your mind on AI is, or what automated with tech is. It wouldn't know that stuff. It wouldn't know what customers are that are likely to be a part of that brand. It wouldn't know any of that, but it would give me an answer because I told it to. Right? And so I wouldn't want to do that. I would want to say, hey, listen, here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to come up with a really cool experience for our customers or their new members. I'm not quite sure what to do. Here's some information. I might upload knowledge and say, here's what our members are, or here's what our community is about. Here's our mission and our vision and all of that stuff. So it has that experience that I also have, right? And so I'm communicating, I'm passing on the experience that I have on my side through to this digital machine. So it also mirrors that experience that I have on my side with the experience that it has on its side that relates to that. That's what I'm doing. when I'm doing that. Same thing with the words and the prompting. Again, I don't worry about the words. I just try to explain what's going on in my head as I am experiencing it. And I use the word experience to get me to literally talk about the experience that I'm having. Here's the experience that I'm going through, and here's what I've experienced before, and here's what I've tried before. And I'm trying to experience this, but I'll keep experiencing that, right? That's the whole point, right? So if you want to speak to the AI in this way, you will get dramatically more useful results coming through. Now, in this window, you can put the text in, and it can hold a bunch of text, which is awesome. But you can, again, upload the files as separate things if you wanted to. The other thing you can do is you can give it direction to say, here's how I want you to reflect back the pattern. Remember we talked about that AI is really just reflecting back a pattern. It's not thinking through what to say. It did not understand anything you give it, ever. It never understands anything. It doesn't work like that. You give it a pattern of data. That's what it's getting on its. You don't think you're doing that. You think you're talking to it like it's a human. And it's okay to do that because that's useful. For on our side, it's very useful to think about AI like a human. And here's all the information you need. And here's the experience I have. And I think you're going to need to experience this, this, and this. It's incredibly useful. But you have to know it's not human. You have to truly understand it is not human because that means you have to know it is not getting your words and your intentions and your desires and all the emotional crap that's in your head. It's not getting any of that, but that is what you think you're communicating. What it's getting is a pattern of all of the words and details and data that you gave it. It gets its pattern. It patterns into its database. That pattern reflects back another ping, right? Those neurons light up based on the other neurons that are lighting up in its. So we lit up neurons, which is kind of how we do this. This is, remember walking through a building and turning on the lights? This is like everything you put into here when you're doing this stuff. It's like walking through a building, turning on the lights, and all the lights, except that you walk through all the building all at once and all the lights are turned on and you can see everything. And then it comes back as a pattern. So how we tell it how to do that, if you don't touch these tools, it's going to come back as words. But it will sometimes switch modes. If you ask it to do a photo, it'll come back and say, oh, I'm going to flip into photo mode, and it'll do this. And you see the little image thing. That's the little nano banana is what Gemini calls it, but just turns on images. ChatGPT does the same thing. Claude does, everything operates the same thing. So it does not matter the tool. Honestly, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. They are all the same freaking thing. And with time, more and more people will realize that. They're all the same thing at this point. And will continue to be. They will polish them with different words, but again, you shouldn't be using AI like that anyway. You should be the one dictating what the experience needs to be, not them. And all of them you can do that with. It doesn't matter how much polish they put on them, you can get right through it, which is what you should be doing anyway. But anyway, the image is there for if you want to do images. So if you knew you wanted to do an image like I did before, you saw I said, oh, I'm going to create images. And then whatever I put in, it knows is an image, right? So it's going to draw me an image. I could do the same thing for a deep research report, which I've done a bunch, where it's like, oh, research this thing for me. I did that with latent experience prompting when I was really trying to understand it and the benefits of it and how it operates in the mind versus the technology, how a VC person would look at this, how other companies, how the financial markets are likely to move because of this, where the technology is likely to go because most humans are going to follow this pattern eventually anyway. I'm not sharing with you something that you're not going to be doing in 10 years. I'm just probably one of the first people to start sharing this. That's all. This is just a natural way that all of us are going to be using AI eventually anyway. I'm just trying to bring it to the forefront so that you can get ahead of the game. So that's deep research. You've got Canvas. This is where it'll create a Google Doc for you or code or whatever. It has a lot of cool stuff there, but it opens its little Canvas area up. And sometimes it'll do this on its own if it thinks that it's going to be useful, but you're going to see where it flips to Canvas mode, and that's what it's doing. And then you've got this other one, which is the guided learning, where it's this is for students who really want to learn something, and it's kind of like having a pre-built gem. But that's kind of guided learning mode. Like, oh, what do you want to learn? And it kind of walks you through without giving you the answers, but helps you learn the answers. Great for students or something you're trying to learn. Again, some of that stuff, I've never really used guided learning because I have gems that do that, and I think they do it in better ways. But eventually, I would imagine the guided learning will get more experiential anyway, and the rest of the OpenAIs and Googles and everything will start making the engines do this more naturally anyway, so we don't have to constantly reprogram them. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, that's the window. That's the context window. Now you'll see here, this says 2.5 Flash. These will change. There's a new 3.0 coming out soon as of this recording. So you can upgrade. I am showing you what you do with free. Just keep that. You can flip it to this where it does a little bit of thinking, quote unquote, and it will tell you that it's thinking. Remember, it's not. It's just reflecting the pattern back and it's translating it into what you would think about if you saw that pattern. But I don't use Pro because you can only go through it a few times on free accounts, and then it shuts you down and says you can't use it anymore for another day, but like a cool off period. So I just use Flash. Flash is faster. It doesn't do as much processing and thinking, but again, that's really, you don't need, when you do this properly, you can use the free tools and really get amazing results. Like I did with the Lego Builder Gem, that was free. That's always free. You can do that 100 times a day, right? And there might be some free limits on the thing, but I've never run into a free limit. So anyway, Flash is there. That just changes the model. And of course, you've seen me do this before where you click on the microphone. I am a fan of talking things out because you give more context. Specifically though, talk about your experience, just your current state, what's going on, how you're experiencing things, what you would like to experience if you know. Otherwise, just give it, and then you ask it, hey, provide back for me what is highly likely to be the most obvious useful experience. That's all you need to do. It'll come back and it'll give you something that's a lot more useful that'll help you get unstuck, right? And again, you don't necessarily know how to do that. You don't have to remember how to do all those words. I'm giving you some of those details, but that's sausage being made. That is all. If you really like that stuff and you want to learn more about that, go to automatedwith.tech and sign up to create your free account there. And that's where that training is going to be. And I'll be doing live streams for both communities, but they're going to be within those communities going forward. So, and then I'll use YouTube for the actual just front facing videos. That seems to be what YouTube really wants anyway. So I'll be doing that there. And the live streams won't be as much on YouTube anymore, but they will still be live streamed, just through the members area for the nitty gritty sausage making stuff. So anyway, that's kind of the tour there. Now remember I said this is where you interact with everything with Gemini. So all of your interactions can go through here, and this is where all the outputs are going to come through. Whenever it gives you a response, it's going to come through that window as well. Now the organization stuff, that's over here. So you'll see this window pops up. This just shows you your recent conversations. If you like one of them, you can pin it. So you can click over here and you can say, I would like to pin this conversation because I would always like this. It also gives you a chance to name it, which I do like doing. So sometimes I'll say like, this is an image, right? Or if it's something that's research, you'll see me where I say this is research coming through where I did a certain thing. So that I can find it later. In fact, I'm gonna keep this as research. Actually, I won't. I'll keep it as image because that's technically what it is. So I can show you that. So I'm going to pin it, but I get a chance to rename it. Now you see a little pin here. So what will happen is this will always be at the top until I unpin it. And that's because this will always be like the most recent thing that I can get access to. And then when I'm done with it, for whatever reason, like if it's a conversation I want to continue for a while or come back to, when I'm done with it, I can just unpin it. But the problem is if I continue the conversation here, I'm just going to say, this is great. So if I continue the conversation here, see how that just moved up? Because it's now the most recent conversation. So it used to be underneath the image, now it's up here because it's the most recent one. And I can do the same thing for this one, and same thing for this one, and same thing for this one. And they will, all of a sudden that image one will get lost. It'll be there, but it gets way down the list, all this stuff here, right? All way down on the list. And then all of a sudden I lose it. And you can see where I did like the leap thing, things like that. So you'll lose it and it'll be hard to find it. So that's why I tag them like this, with that little image thing there. And again, I use pins. I used to use pins a lot, but the problem is then you just get a big giant long list of pins you get lost in. So I try to use those sparingly. But when things are certainly going to be used all the time, I will pin them. But that's probably it. And I mostly tag them. The reason is because then I can come into search and I can say, show me everything that is image. And now I should be able to see, oh, there's my image. Digital Brain actually it was just there. Where did it go? There it is, image digital brain request, right? So today, let me get my head out of the way here so you can see what that looks like entirely. Now, eventually I think there'll be better filters because I wish they had a sort option. This is everything that contains image in it, which is fine because I can still see what I'm looking at here, right? But I wish it did organize by date. I think eventually they'll start doing things like that. So we'll see. But anyway, that's how you can find it. And again, if I wanted to see when I was doing the leap experiences, which again, I do live streams with these. So I can see, oh, here's where I put the word leap in, right? And this is leap, leap, leap. So I should see another one here that's got my leap in it. Let's see if this does it here. I want to see the one that starts with leap. There's a leap fail. Oh, see, it's not pulling up the one. So the search is not perfect. Let's see if this does it. I'm trying to do like a leap with a space just so it kind of shows. Oh, it's not putting the space in there though. That's all right. So anyway, search, again, I'm not a fan of the search at all. But it is a limitation. I think GPT's got different ways of organizing. Claude's got different ways of organizing. AI Studio has different ways of organizing. There's a million ways to organize this stuff. Don't get caught up in that. Just, this is Gemini. Deal with what it is, especially if you're just starting out and just using gems. Like, who cares? Your gems are going to be a different area anyway. But I wanted you to know these conversations are here. So your conversations are here. You can pin them. You can rename them. You can unpin them. You can share them. When you do this, it makes it public. So this Lego space thing is now public right now. Anybody here can go to this link. You would just copy it and you can pull it up, paste it in. Any of us right now can go and do that. Here's everything in there. So my public conversation, this is now public. Google can now search this. We'll end up in search results, right? So if you don't want private stuff out there, you got to be careful about sharing links because they're always public. You can't say, oh, I want to share it with certain people. Now with workspace accounts, you can do that. You can kind of do some of the sharing. In fact, let me TBV that really quick. Let me go off screen for a second. I believe that is the case so I just made it. It's now a public link. When you come in here, this is where you can see delete anytime. When I click on delete, I can come down here. This is where I can delete that and make it not shareable with anybody else. So I can copy it or I can delete it. And now that link is no longer available. So if I come back here, I'm just going to refresh the same thing. Now it doesn't exist anymore. Right? And it just takes you back to regular Gemini that you were logged into because that link went away. So that's how you can share gems. That's how we share gems. And I wanted you to know that that's how we share them. So they're coming out. So I deleted it, right? So there's my deleted links. So there's the public links that were out there. So for this stuff. Now we can also share gems, right? So I want to talk about that in a second. But just in terms of conversations and settings, this is sort of the things you can do with your conversations. We know we can share them, but remember when you're this is with a free account. Paid account's a little different. You have a control sometimes of who sees what, but when you're sharing with free accounts, it's public. It's going to be on Google. So if you wanted to share a private family conversation with another family member that really contains some personal details, you could share it with them, but it's also going to be publicly scraped. As chances are that it's just assume that's going to happen. So if you aren't comfortable doing that, maybe just have a conversation with them about it, or copy and paste that stuff in a Google Doc and share it that way. So it's more like, oh, I'm only letting your email address see it. So just something to be aware of. And remember, if you accidentally share anything, which I just do here, right? Oh, I just accidentally shared it. Crap, what do? No problem. Just go to delete part. Or if you're not sure how to get in here, just go back to the delete part. Just share something and then go back, click on delete, and you can see, oh, I'm just going to delete it. There's the one I didn't want. I'm going to share it, but delete this, right? That's it. So anyway, that's how that stuff works when it comes to sharing our conversations. So now we know that. We know pinning. We know how to rename. So if you just want to change the name of it, I could do that, and be like, this is just a test, where, I did this or whatever, and rename it, and it can change the name. Because sometimes AI is going to come up with names, but they're really, really not the most useful names most of the time. But that's because it's only coming up on the first initial prompt. It has no idea what the rest of the conversation is going to be about. So I do like to try to rename them if I can, if I remember. But sometimes I don't. I go fast too, and I have all these conversations, and sometimes just get lost. Because that does happen. That's just a problem. And there'll be other ways to do it. And there'll be other folders and other things will always come out. And there'll be other things to do this. Don't get caught up on that. Other people will solve that problem for you. Your job is not to organize your conversations. That's not what's holding you back from AI. What's holding you back on AI is not using it as a tool to actually communicate experience and get better experiences. So focus on that part before you focus on how you organize stuff. So at least that's literally what I'm doing. But anyway, you can delete a conversation if you don't want it there anymore. You can delete it entirely. So you can see that. Now this, ironically enough, is sometimes not in the paid accounts where you can't delete stuff because it's a corporate account. And so there has to be something set up and they just haven't allowed that. As far as I can tell, that's not a thing you can do. But that's going to change too, I'm sure, with time. So you can delete a conversation on a personal free account. So I will have conversations where I'm being a little vulnerable that I want people to ever have access to, that I don't want to have access to again, that I won't need again, that I will then delete and be like, this wasn't particularly useful. I can just delete it. If it's a trash conversation, delete it. In workspace accounts, that's harder. Sometimes I have these, like I kept the one where I said it was a leap fail because I wanted the example, this one, the fail of a leap. I wanted the example so I can use it for AI training, whatever else. But the second I'm done with it, I can be like, I never need this again. I'll just delete it because I don't need it. It's not useful anymore. I can delete it and not have to go through it to climb over pieces of things that I don't need, right? I don't want to climb over these conversations. This one's a good one. This DNU flashlight example. It's like, oh, I don't really need this anymore. DNU stands for me, do not use. So I was using it as an example before, but now I'm just going to delete it because I don't need it anymore. I can just click delete. And then it gives you, do you want to delete it? Because everything's going to go away. right? It's all happening, all the content, this entire thread, you're going to lose access to everything. The second you do that, yep, it's gone, never to come again, right? So, okay, now we know how to delete. So this is how you do our conversations. This is what you can do with conversations. Remember, 2 different style accounts. If you have a paid account or a free account, I'm showing you the free account. So you should have access to everything in a free personal account that I have here. Now, the other part of this that are sort of settings that you can play around with right in here. This is your activity. This shows you what you have done. So you can turn this on and off. This is what Google, let me just blow this up a little bit so we can all read it. So this is what Google is doing to sort of help connect the dots for us sometimes to give us a better experience of AI by saying, oh, they were just talking about this the other couple of days ago. So this is the last 72 hours, type of thing and everything else. And they're trying to do this to improve the models and everything else. So you can do this, you can delete older activity, right? You can change all that sort of settings. So if you want to play with those, you can. You can, this is what actually happened in terms of the activity going through. So you're like, hey, I was doing this the other day, or a couple days ago, I was in this conversation. You can go through. This is what would be useful of this. It's like, oh, I know on this day on Thursday I did it, but I can't remember which one it was. Here's all your activities on Thursday that you kind of did going through, right? So there's some usefulness out of that. I guess you could see, or I can see. So that again is what this part is, activity. Instructions for Gemini. So this is an area where, go screen for a second here. So this is an area where you can turn on and say, this is how you know me. Now I did not do that on this account because this is your Mind on AI's just a dummy free account that wasn't set up at all on purpose. It was just activated and we started using it. But I wanted you to know that you can do this. So if you could say, hey, I am this type of person and I'm only going to be using this account. So I need you to know I'm an entrepreneur. I need you to know I'm a contrarian kind of person. I want to know the blind spots all the time. So if I forget to ask for them, just tell them what they are anyway. You can put that stuff in there. This is what I prefer to be called. This is what foods I like or foods I don't like. Like all that stuff can go in there so you can start to really understand who it's talking to as a user. Right? As you as a user. So you don't have to use this part. I'm certainly not doing this with This Is Your Mind on AI. And I won't. For this part, it's not going to be useful. But again, I don't need it, but you could use it, right? This is the place you can do it in Gemini, and so does ChatGPT. Everybody else has those little settings where you can customize stuff. Connected apps is where you can connect it into other Google Universe stuff. I do find this to be helpful, especially with business accounts, because you can have it go into your Google Docs and reference stuff and connect with things. This is how you can upload and connect it through Google Drive, which I would recommend. That's why it's turned on here, because this is how you can upload a Google Drive document into a Google Gem and say, this is the knowledge I want you to access. Like here's my brand, or here's my customers, or whatever that thing is that I created as knowledge. I can just put on Google Drive and I have that one document that is that single source of knowledge at all times. And if I ever want to update the knowledge for all the gems that have access to the knowledge, I just change the one document and they all get the updated information, right? So that's kind of why I connected to Google Workspace. So if you are building gems, I would recommend you do that. And if you're not building gems, who cares? For now, don't worry about it because you probably won't need it all that often. But that's what that part does. Public links. This is where it tells you what links are currently public that are out there. These are the links of conversations you have shared, not gems you have shared, the conversations you have shared, right? So that's what that is. So in this case, I just had this conversation that was shared out there. And the second I don't want this conversation out there anymore, I can just close it out, right? So there's that. And then we can go through and let me pull up this other one. So public links, there's the theme, so light, dark. Subscriptions is where you can upgrade. This is a free account, so I'm not going to worry about that. Sending feedback to Google and then getting any help, which if you do have any help, just let me know. I'll help you out with it. So that's kind of the settings part of this. Let me just zoom out so we can expand this. So there's our settings part of this. We know how to run conversations now, so a little bit more around the organization of stuff. And we now know, of course, our chat window, this chat interface. This is where the inputs come in, this is where the inputs go out. This is how we interface with the machinery, the digital machinery. So we communicate our experience through this window, and then AI is going to ping back its experience through the same window. Sometimes through pictures, sometimes through words, right? Sometimes through videos or sound or whatever else. But that's what happens with an LLM. So now we know the inputs and outputs where that stuff happens. We know how to organize those conversations. Let's talk about gems as we go through, and then I'll cover our notes and make sure we got everything. So the gems themselves, let me just minimize this. So I want to explore gems. You can pin them just like you can here. You see unpin, edit, and you got the ability to unpin and edit gems because you can't change the names here. It's not what the names. They're not conversations. They're pre-made prompts, pre-made kind of ready-made conversations where you kind of, instead of having to set up the AI to say, this is who I am and this is what I do and this is what my customers are, you can and tell it that every time to actually have the conversation you want to have. Instead, you can create a gem that already starts at that. It knows who the conversation is about. It knows who it's talking to. It knows its customers. It knows the brand. It knows whatever the thing is, or it knows who your family is, or it knows the situations you're dealing with, or whatever the thing is. The gem is ready for whatever it's about to deliver. It's already been pre-set up, right? That's what the gem manager does. So that's what a gem is. So I'm going to show you when you click on explore gems. I'm going to minimize this so we can look at this. When you do this, make sure there's something out there. There's something useful. Perfect there. So you have these beginner gems that it already has. Some of these are great to go through. If you want to play with them, you can. Mostly what we're doing here, this is your Mind on AI, is creating our own. The maze is going to be demonstrated a little bit later, but I'll walk through that with you. And we have these different gems that we're going to be creating that are designed to give you an experience of a solution to a specific problem, not here's how you can solve your problem. You will actually leave having experienced the problem being solved, so that you actually have the experience of a solution. Because I think that's what more people really want from AI, and they're just not sure how to get it. So I just know how to do that. So I'm going to create gems. In fact, I already have gems that create gems that do that. But that's the stuff. If you want to learn how to do all this, that's what automated with .tech is for. So go there, sign up for a free account, and you can be a part of that community. I will give a ton of free training on how to do that. I'm just not going to do that when this is your Mind on AI, because there's too many beginners here, and there's too many people who honestly just don't care about how to do it. They don't want to create their own gem, but they want the experience that the gems will give them. And so that's what I'm gonna do. This is your Mind on AI will be the front facing, like, cool, you don't need to, you just want to drive cars. I'm gonna provide a ton of different cars that you can drive to have really cool experiences. If you want to learn how to build cars, go to the automated with .tech. Otherwise, stay with This Is Your Mind on AI. So that's the idea. But let's talk about what a gem is. So when I click on new gem, this is kind of the magic behind how the whole thing operates. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see the parts and pieces. The first part is just a name. It's the label. This is where you change the name of stuff, right? You can't. So whereas before you could change the name of the conversation, because it was just the conversation. You can't, when you change the name of the gem, you go to where you manage gems to change it, and you can do that. So it's where you name it. This is actually new. It just came up recently, this description, but this is really just a description where you can describe what the gem does and maybe put instructions in there for the user and maybe to remind yourself what it does. Things like that are useful. Some of our gems have this, some don't, because it didn't exist as a box, and now it does. So we'll go back and make sure good descriptions are in there. And then the instructions, these are not the instructions for the user. That's technically what we're going to use the description for, so that you as a user know what the bot, this gem does. You're going to hear references gem, bot, GPT. They're all the same thing. They're just setting up the AI so it's already in a mode so that you can just hit the ground running. That's all this is. Instead of warming it up and trying to explain everything and then being able to do the thing you really want to do, the gem is just a preset way. The GPT is just a preset way, right, of doing this. That's all it is. So the name, the description, the instructions are the actual instructions you're giving to AI. Here's all the stuff you need to know. Here's what you're trying to do here. And in that, there is sometimes knowledge, not always, but sometimes additional knowledge. This is that same ability to upload and say, oh, here's my customer list, or not customer list, but here's my type of customers, the demographics, the psychographics. Here's the brand and our vision and mission statements. And knowing who our customers are demographically and psychographically, and knowing what our brand does and what our products and services are, what's a really cool experience we might do is the next promotion. Well, you could do that by giving the knowledge and make sure it has that knowledge of your brand and your customers and maybe your current product list. And then you can give it instructions to say, okay, here's how you need to be when it comes to this generating this type of experience, right? And so, and again, if you want to learn how to do that, this is not going to be the course. I can't teach you how to do that here, but this is where you put it in instructions. You can create those. And again, automated with .tech is where we will show you how to do all of that if you really want to learn how to make the sausage. Most of us don't want to make the sausage. If you're like me, you just want to sort of just chat out on some bratwurst and beer. So that's what This Is Your Mind on AI is all about. This channel that you're on right now, this is going to be one of the more complicated live streams because again, I'm giving a bunch in here beyond what beginners need because I need it, so I can start creating the gems and everything else. But all of the madness of this, you will see in Automated with .tech, why I did what I did, and why I'm doing the way I'm launching these channels the way I did, will all make sense as we go through. But anyway, this is the instructions for the LLM, for your AI, right? And there are ways you can come up with that. You can write your own. You can have AI write them. That's what I recommend. But they basically prep the AI to be like, oh, you're a gardener, right? You're the best indoor plant person ever, and you know everything there is to know about how to do indoor plants. And so this gem is where I can use, maybe I've got a problem of I'm trying to keep plants alive because I don't have a green thumb and I want to experience a gem, this would be a great one. This would be a really cool one. This would be like up there with like the pretzel maker. But you could do a gem that you can go to for advice on how to keep your plants alive in the house, or take a picture. Imagine taking a picture of your plant, giving it, and be like, what do I do with this? And it says, oh, this one's needing water, or this one is perfectly fine, or here's the schedule, that it would need, or here's what it's feeling that it doesn't know to tell you. You can do gems like that. In fact, I think I'm going to write that down eventually. Or maybe remind me, do me a favor in the comments those of you that saw this, because if you saw that right now, I need your help, literally. If that's cool for you, like, yeah, that would be super useful. Do like plant gem. Just put in the comments like plant gem, and I'll know what that means, because I'll remember that. I just don't want to stop everything and write that down now, because I have a separate whiteboard where I write everything, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to go off camera. So do me a favor and do that. If you're like, yeah, that wouldn't be cool at all, just don't worry about it. Just skip it, because it's totally fine. That's either way, I'm getting a signal back from you that says you pinged, you like that, or you didn't ping, you didn't like that. But if you really like that, it's important. Even if you've already commented, please just put, yeah, plant gem would be awesome. Something like that. And then I'll make that one of the new gems coming out, and I'll give that away so everybody can use that. That's the point. Anything that's on this channel that you guys come up with, we'll give away. Make sure everybody has access to it. I think that's a pretty cool idea. All right. Anyway, that's how gems work. So you've got your name, your description, your instructions, your knowledge, and then you can do little test runs as you go through. I don't typically do the test runs here. I just do it in an actual chat. But that's what they look like. Now, when they're built, let me show you the maze one. Actually, let me show you a few things you can do when you're built. When they're built, like this one is, and the leap is the one that we're most actually, I'm gonna use this one because this is the one we're most famous for right now, and I use that term very loosely. But this is yourmindonai.com. Currently goes here. This is not going to last much longer. I'm just going to warn everybody. This is about to flip into a whole community model that you will be able to. Those of you that just don't want to create accounts, totally cool. You don't have to. We will. You'll still have access publicly to be able to see the gems, and you can click on them. So if you never want to join the community, you don't have to. That's what this is, though. I just shared the link to the gem, right? And I did that because here I went to share and I said, anyone with the link can view. Gems, you can control who sees what. So a conversation is just public or it's not, right? So that's different. That's what I shared before. You either make the conversation public so that Google can scrape it, which is what's going to happen. It might show up in search results one day. So if you don't want that public conversation, just even though you don't control who sees that, you just control if it's public or not, if somebody can see it. But a gem, not the conversation, but the gem itself, you can share with others. So you could create a family gem that only is shared with people in your family, right? You could create a work gem that's only shared with people in your work. That's kind of what this allows, right? In our case, this is Your Mind on AI. We are going, and that is our email, by the way. So if you for whatever reason are not comfortable speaking publicly or leaving comments or whatever, email us. I just want the signal. It doesn't have to come through YouTube, though I would appreciate that. So like and subscribe and all that fun stuff if you haven't already. That seems an obvious choice. But don't do it because you want more information from us. That's obviously going to happen. You're doing it because you want people to have this experience. Be like, well, this is unique. Other people should have this experience. They should be exposed to this, and that's why you do it. Because then we're telling the YouTube algorithm, hey, look at how many times I'm commenting. Look how many times I like and subscribe. People like me need to experience this. This is the whole point. So that's what we're going through there. So anyway, with the gems, you can also email me. This is Your Mind on AI if you have a question or comment or concerns or anything else. I don't check that email very often, but we do check it every once in a while. It might take us weeks to get back to you. Just be aware of that. But that is our email. So I can set this thing up. We make it public so that anybody can use it, right? So we copied the link, which is all we did, and we hyperlinked it to this. This is the link that we copied, right? This is the link. You can see down here in the URL. It kind of shows up when I hover. That's the actual public link. You could type that in your browser and it would take you this. When I click on it, it takes me directly into Gemini with this gem, right? No matter what account I'm logged into, it would do that because this gem is public. We share it publicly, but we could also turn that off at any time, right? That's kind of because we control the gem. So now I'll show you some other cool things you can do with gems, but that's important. So that's how you share a gem. That's how we shared the gem. So why that is useful is because if you're coming here and you're clicking on this link, you're always getting the most updated version of the gem that we have, right? The best possible version of it. So as I come in here, I can edit. You can see this is where we did the name, right? So we can change the name. The description, there is no description because to be honest, when we created this, there was no description box. I have to go back and update that. But then here is the actual instructions, right? So everybody can see the instructions. We're not trying to hide everything. You can see them. Just most people don't care. They just want the experience of the gem provides. They don't care about how it's working, right? But if you want to see the sausage being made, you can do that. But there's a way you would need to do it. So I'll show you what that looks like here. So, but anyway, this is our instructions. So all we did, now again, I didn't write this, AI wrote this, but I used our techniques to create the instructions so that we get the best result that we can from this particular gem for what this gem is supposed to do, which is to help you leap into a different perspective, right? So that's the whole idea. So that's the gem itself. And again, I can turn off the sharing, whatever else. Now the other thing, this account does not have it. However, this other account does. Let me show you. When you accept a shared gem, which I have done on my other account. So let me bring that back. Give me just a moment. I believe it is this one here. So I'm going to expand this. Okay. So now if I go into managing my gems here, I'm going to go to explore gems. This is a paid account. It's a workspace account. So as I come through here, right, I've got my different gems that I've created, right? Some of which are going to be just automated with .tech. This is technically the account that is going to be building all the automated with .tech stuff. Some of these gems you will never see on This Is Your Mind on AI, but those of you in automated with .tech, you will, because this is more sausage making gems, not gems to experience fun stuff, which is what This Is Your Mind on AI is going to be. But these are the gems. But down here, way at the bottom of all these gems that I've created, see these shared with me gems? There is the leap. This is the exact same spot. If you use the leap gem, and you have to use it, you can't just click on it and then not use it. You got to use it, have a conversation with it. But as soon as you have one conversation, well, because that conversation's been had, it's now linked into the gem that had the conversation, and your gem will be down here so that I can go through and I can share the gem. So I can send the link to other people because I'm allowed to do that, because I'm allowing people to do that. But I cannot edit it. See that? Where I can't edit it? That little edit button is here. I can edit my own gems, but I can't edit the gem that I got from This Is Your Mind on AI. It doesn't allow me to do that because This Is Your Mind on AI does not allow people to do that. I could make that available, but I didn't want to. So that's because I don't want people changing the gem. Otherwise, they would change the gem for everybody. You would think you're changing it for yourself, but you're not changing it for the entire world. So I don't want that. However, if you want to customize it for yourself, you can. All you need to do, and again, most of you won't want to do this, but maybe you eventually want to grow into it. And this is the stuff we're definitely going to show you on Automated with .tech on how to do all that. So if you really care about learning that, which again, I think maybe 10% of you probably do. But if you go to Automated with .tech, if you just want experience, don't worry about this part. But if you want to do this, let me get my head out of the way. You can, instead of starting a new chat, right, you can make a copy. You could locate it in your drive because it's got a little place in Google Drive is kind of where it's storing this stuff. Or you could remove it. I mean, I don't want to have shared access anymore. You can just get rid of it. And you can report a bad gem. If somebody gave you a bad scammy gem or something, which again, just be careful with the internet. This is your mind on AI. We're gonna do everything we can to make it a good experience for you. If it's not, please let us know. But the idea here is when you click make a copy, watch what happens. I make a copy. There's all the instructions. So this is how you can see all the instructions. We're not trying to hide the instructions from you. This is just how you get them if you want them. It's just that most people don't care about the instructions. So we're not putting the instructions in your face. And we're certainly not going to give you the ability to change the instructions for everybody in the world accidentally, because most people on This Is Your Mind on AI are new to AI. They don't know that's what's going on. Whereas in your company, you might want to do that, or your family, where somebody can update a certain thing and everybody knows how to update the gem, right? So that's kind of the idea behind that, why that's important. But there you go. This is why we're not hiding anything. If you want to change the name of it, you can change your name to like my gem that was Leap, right? And that's it. And now I've got my gem that's Leap. It's going to change the name. And then all I would need to do, let me get my face out of the way, is click on save. And there, once it's saved, it says, okay, gem is saved. We can see that right here. And then here it says, okay, start chat. I can start chat. And there's the gem that's Leap. And now if I go into my gems, I can explore gems, and you see there's my gem that was the Leap. There's my copy of it. And now I can go ahead and edit, and I can change the instructions. I can do whatever I want to do. In my case, I'm actually going to delete it because I don't need that. Because I really don't want to have a forked copy, which is a separate version. And you totally could. If you want to, you can. Just know that that's what you're doing. But if I ever change anything on This Is Your Mind on AI, and we say, oh, we found a way to make the Leap gem work better, and we change the instructions to make it better, or we give it advanced knowledge to make it better, you won't get that because you've made a copy of it. So it's separate. You won't get the updates. That's why we just share it publicly without that. So those of you that want to do that, you know how to do that now. So you can customize it on your own. More power to you. Have fun with it. That's what the, the whole experience should be that. But most of us are not necessarily doing that. So anyway, that is that. Now I want to go back into our guide. So, which was here. And we're just going to refresh so I can get down to the parts that I need. Okay, so we're going back into the course outline that I was supposed to be following. And I'm sure I've hit most of these parts at this point. So we talked about Gemini, we talked about digital brain, we talked about gems, these little safe magnetic fields. The whole point of that was basically saying, like, you can sort of pre-prompt all the stuff you need to do. Here's the knowledge, here's about our customers, here's our mission and value statements. Let's just start here. And that's what a gem does, right? Here's all the information about my family and the dynamics I'm going on. And your job is to help me figure out my family dynamics. Let's just start here. So I don't have to keep telling you about my family dynamics so I can have a conversation about family dynamics, right? That's the sort of idea behind that. Okay, so now we talked about using the rulebook stuff. I showed you the Lego builds. And at this point, we've talked a lot about the comments. So just drop comments in there for the gems that you want. Again, the way that I'm starting this out, I know is very low traffic. So I don't blame it. It took you a little while to get here to practice, and don't let that be a thing. You're already probably have seen how many people have already watched this. And there's two things happening. One is not a lot of people watch this. Well, there's not a lot of subscribers. I'm doing live streams. I'm not pushing this the way YouTube says you're supposed to push this to get traffic. I'm just trying to get the experience myself and get the training data, but you are here for a reason. You are here for a reason. At this point, you're experiencing what I'm experiencing right now for this reason, to participate. So if there's a problem that's been come up, any of this stuff, like you're thinking about, man, yeah, plants. I never thought about having a little gem that can just help me be better at plants, or fish tanks, or cleaning your room. I mean, there's getting the garage organized, whatever the stuff is that you're dealing with. It doesn't all have to be these gigantic, massive, life-altering problems like, oh, I've got to go cure cancer. Though if that's your jam, let's play with that. But the idea is the experience of everyday life. Let's help use AI to just help us improve our own lives in the way that we can improve our own lives, and stop telling each other how we should improve our own lives by telling them how they should make our life better. We should make our own lives better. And AI is a tool that we can do that with, where it actually becomes a hell of a lot of fun. So that's what I want to kind of show this channel to be. And I'm going to create all the tools and fun stuff that we can all do it. I'll just play with the tool. I'll create the toys. I just need somebody who wants to say, like, what kind of toys do you want to play with? Like, let's do it. So that's what this is. At this point, it's up to you. Now, if none of this is relevant, fine. Don't react. Don't like, don't subscribe, because that's telling the algorithm people like you should not have this experience. And I'm okay with that, because maybe that's true. But the fact is that you're here, you're still listening, and I really am talking to you at this point. I'm trying to break the fourth wall here, being like, let's pay attention. I'm out of preaching mode, hopefully, and trying to connect with you. Even though I did this at a very different time frame. I'm doing this 11:08 a.m. Central Time on the 11th. That's funny. November the 8th at 11:08 a.m. How's that for meta? 2025. That's when I'm doing this, right? 11th the 8th at 11:08 a.m. Central. I'm having this conversation with you, right? And you're experiencing what I'm hoping is a participation moment. I'm participating. I'm diving in right now, doing all of this, being vulnerable live on camera, so that you can ping back to me one way or the other and say, this is useful and this is not useful. Now, if it's not useful, just don't do anything. That's okay. But you're here, which means you are doing something. You're literally pinging back because you're viewing it still, which is great. But I need more signals from you. I don't need you just viewing it, though it's useful. Don't get me wrong, because YouTube is still seeing that. Go, no, people like him or her, right? I don't know who you are. I just know you're there. But YouTube certainly does, and then the algorithm's going, okay, people like them need to, and it's modeling everything it knows about you, and it's taking that as a signal that maybe other people like you would like this video, and this is how the video sort of spreads. But what really juices it is comments, liking, subscribing, things like that. So if you don't want more messages like this, and people like you don't think this is a useful experience, then don't participate anymore. Stop watching the video is what I'm trying to tell you. But the fact that you're here means you probably do. There is something weirdly useful about it, or that could be useful about it, that makes sense. So that's where you like something. That's why you subscribe to something, because that tells the algorithm, hey, I'm a person who believes other people like me or similar to me probably would also find this to be useful. I think people should have this experience. They should not just that you want more of this experience, which you would clearly get, but that others should also have this experience, right? And hopefully it's a positive experience. But if you react negatively, which is fine, you can, but when you do that, you're still telling the algorithm, people like me should have this experience. So just don't react. If it's not a good experience, don't react. That's better. And the algorithm you will find will have you less and less stuff like this. But if you do react, you're going to get more and more stuff like this. And other people like you will also get more and more stuff like this. So I'm hoping you're reacting because of that. So again, if you're watching this video, drop a comment. What's a good gem? Do you like the idea of a plant gem? Do you like the idea of a recipe gem, of a creating a garage gem, of a getting the kids to clean their room gem, of how to get a kid to go to bed gem, of the what do I want to be to grow up gem, no matter how old I am, the I just lost my job, what the hell am I going to do with my life gem? We can do all of that. I just need you to give me a comment. Let me know which one you want to do first. I'm going to do them. I'm going to just do ones that I need. And so you can wait, which is totally fine. If that's what you feel like doing, that's awesome. But if you feel like commenting, comment. It doesn't matter if you've commented 15 times already, comment again. Because that really is communicating to the algorithm. There's something going on here. And this is where other people come in that are like you, that also comment, that will also come up with cool gems that you could use. And this is how we signal to each other, hey, let's gather in this spot and start barking out gems that I can, this crazy dude here can start building them out. And let's see what we can all do. And then we can all meet in This Is Your Mind on AI community going through. So anyway, that's my little riff on that. Now this part, the subscribing part. So what's going to happen, I'm just going to show you what I have, and then we can see. So automated with tech. So this is the community. In fact, this is where I did the little plans for this community there. It is a very tiny community because I've always called this friends and family experience because I didn't know what to do with it, to be completely honest, but I know exactly what to do with it. And it's radically going to change, just like This Is Your Mind on AI is going to change. So again, currently, if you go to This Is Your Mind on AI at this very moment, right, you will see, thanks Google, this is the Google Doc. And this is kind of how you see it. This is the version that you probably see. You have to request access, and you can click on the leaps, and you get everything else. And this is what we did right now. The YouTube channel's here. In fact, I think, well, that's something I'm going to change right now because, I got to edit this. This goes to the wrong link now. But anyway, it's technically this YouTube, then This Is Your Mind on AI, not the abbreviation. Anyway, I will change that. As I get distracted here. The point is, this is going to change. It's going to look more like this. I'm going to have a public section that everybody will be able to see that will have the gems. I'm going to have them a little more organized. There might be a section that's like, oh, public gems, right? And then you can see it, but there will be a part where you will need to log in or sign up. And that's going to be these other section that I'm going to have for This Is Your Mind on AI, where I'm doing the live streams of actually using the gems, or talking through different aspects of things. We'll still do lots of stuff. The live stream stuff, a little bit of the sausage being made and how I'm experiencing some things and what we're doing will be in the live streams, and we can interactive. That'll be the interactive parts of things because we'll do webinars, and that's where you can participate and play. And those of you who want to do stuff live, that's where we're going to do it. So if you want to gather, it'll be back here in the community. Not built yet, but will be in the next couple of weeks as I get it out. And that's part of why I'm doing this training. So I need to get this set out because I'm purposely going to use this as training data that I can show how I'm building This Is Your Mind on AI. So it'll all make sense. But that's the point is we're going to have This Is Your Mind on AI, be in a community. You can log in, sign up, communicate with each other. And we'll have courses and whatever else. I actually probably won't have courses back there, but I am going to be doing some cool things to help you experience better versions of life. We'll have all the different gems out here. We have, all that fun stuff. Now, so this current the automated with .tech is going to change what it looks like, but it's also going to be a community. You should also log in and sign up only if you want to learn how I'm doing all of This Is Your Mind on AI, building out the gems, how I think about stuff, because I think crazy about stuff, which is cool. I'm just embracing that. But this is automated with .tech is where you're going to see some of that craziness in terms of the sort of the machinery behind everything. And getting more direct access to sort of how I experience things. So if you really want to see the chef at work, automated with .tech is where you're going to experience that. But it's with the intention of showing like, yes, this is how I'm doing some stuff. And some of it, you might just want to watch me work. Others, you might want to play along, and there'll be a little bit more interactive workshops that you can work with me on stuff. As I'm building out a certain gem, you could also build out a certain gem that you're working with, right? And I can help you with that. So that's where the automated with .tech stuff is going to be. If that's what you care about, do that. Otherwise, if you just want to just use AI, do fun things with AI, that's what This Is Your Mind on AI is going to be about. Again, I'm going to flip it to a community, so that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. So you'll be able to sign up for that. I would suggest you sign up earlier than not. Not that there's always going to be free forever levels, but what is free might change. Let's say that. So in the beginning, I'm really going to be generous because you're helping me get started as much as I'm helping hopefully you get started, and as we both help each other get unstuck here. I'm a very big believer in taking care of people that help you get started. So anybody that's here early on is kind of what I'm trying to give you a not so subtle hint for. When I launch these communities, if you're interested, join them now. Like, don't wait. Because I'm not going to be the guy who's like, you only got 7 days left. I'm just not going to do the scarcity thing. I'll just change the rules one day. And as long as I've told you about it ahead of time, like, hey, you should join now. You should join now. Don't wait for the perfect time. If now's not the perfect time, then don't. But if it seems like it's the perfect time, it would be useful to join it. Join it, because it is useful to join it. That's the signal you're literally getting. You should pay attention to that, and do that. But don't do it because I convinced you to do it. Do it because you know it's useful to do. And if it's not useful to do, then don't. But yes, there's going to be a risk where maybe you come back and you realize, oh crap, what used to be all free is no longer free. Lesser versions are free. It's still useful. It'll still be useful. You just might not get other stuff that I add. So it won't be like I'm ever going to reduce the free amount. It's just that I might not give as much for the new stuff that I'm doing for free, But for those early members, they probably will have access to more than what future members might have. So my point is, jump in early if you're at all interested in this. And again, hang on with me for this couple of weeks, because this whole tooling is going to completely change what it looks like coming through. So that's really the main reason I am doing this, is I'm getting this AI training down so I can go into Automated with Tech, because Automated with .tech is where I'm going to show, quite literally in this space here, I'm changing this into the how I'm building the This Is Your Mind on AI community, which right now is the Google Doc, but it is about to become something that looks like this with community spaces and everything else. And we're going to have a completely different way of experiencing this. And it's going to be completely automated with tech, the same tech platform that we use here at Automated with .tech. So if I think I'm logged in still, hopefully this will work. Oh, I'm not. That's okay. So but anyway, we're using this technology, this tech stack of WordPress, and I'm going to show you how to use all of the tech stack that we're using. It's this products called Fluent, which are awesome. I've talked to some of you about that offline. But anyway, it's amazing. And I want to show you how to do community through technology that is mostly automated. So you don't have to worry about running the community as much as you just being in the community, just being a community member yourself in a place that you enjoy. Kind of like, here, how can we make this garden, a community, kind of like an amazement garden that you just enjoy being in, not being the gardener of? Because that's my problem. Like, I love gardens. I love going out to a cool, like, Japanese Zen garden or whatever, but man, I would hate to build the thing. That's not my Zen. I like experiencing the thing that's been built. And that's what I'm using to do with Automated.tech. So I'm going to use Automated with .tech is going to be showing how I'm building This Is Your Mind on AI. So that's why you get to see the sausage being made back there. But This Is Your Mind on AI is about to go to a whole other new front end because they've got this raw course out. So this raw course is going to create all of these videos that are going to be actual front end videos that will probably pop the channel, because that's what YouTube wants. They want the videos recorded and edited and all that fun stuff. And I get it. I'll do that. But I needed a way to do it, and I'm going to use AI to do it, so that I don't have to put in all the effort, because I don't want to put in the effort. I just want the result. I want the experience of the result of the solution of having the channel grow. And it's going to grow by these videos that AI is going to basically do. And I just sort of need to assemble and experience how cool that is. And that's what I'm doing. So anyway, that hopefully makes some sense. I will keep this live stream going in as long as I can. I'm going to keep because you can use this transcript, you can grab the entire transcript and learn a ton from AI. Just give it to your own AIs in the future and say, hey, make this make sense to me. And it will, right? Because it knows you better than I probably know you. So you could take the transcript. There's lots of things we can do with this. And that's what I'm doing with it. And I'm going to be showing in Automated with .tech why I'm doing what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and why I did this course like I did. Because I think more people just need to be vulnerable and be willing to not fail, because this is not a failure of a course. It's the first version of a course. And it came about because my wife and I were talking. She's the co-founder of this whole thing. And she's not really going to be on the front end of stuff. It's not where her sort of comfort level is. But she wants to participate in the company. And obviously I want her to participate. She brings a different perspective. And that's what she was saying. She's like, we need to get a course out. And you're too busy focusing on thinking about the perfect course and organizing and everything else. You just need to get it out, and then we'll take a look at it. But just do that in whatever way is useful for you. So for her way of doing it is writing out an outline and thinking it through and journaling and whatever else. And for me, I'm like, I just need to go teach. And then I need to look back and say, how was that taught? Okay, now how do we do that better? And so that's what these live streams are for me, because they're a way for me to do that, because I'm comfortable being vulnerable enough to do that. To live stream, knowing that this is not the best version of what it's going to be, but it is what it's going to be. It's the seed that's been planted now. And now I have what I need to actually continue the journey. And I hope to some extent you do too, even if that's just leaving comments about like, oh, this would be a good problem to solve, or this would be a gem that would be cool to have, or what about this, or what about that, or what about this, or what about that. Whatever you feel like putting as a comment, now's the time. Even if it's like, hey, I get it, good job, this is cool. And if you don't feel like that, that's okay too. If all you want to do is just watch this, but you didn't feel like subscribing or liking, whatever else, the fact that you went this far already is a signal to YouTube that says, hey, people like me might want to have this experience. The second you stop is the second you stop telling your algorithm, yeah, people like me should not have this experience anymore. But if this is useful, this makes you think about something in a slightly different way, just one new unique thought, even if it didn't completely make sense, but something, man, there's something different here. That's still a win for me personally, because that's what I look for. I just look for one new thing, one new thought. And I go, oh, I never thought about that before. And that's kind of what I'm doing with this course, is I get to teach it the way I kind of want to, get it out there inartfully, not perfectly, but showing you how I'm making the sausage as I'm making the sausage. This is not the sausage part. This is not the nice, yummy part of the course. This is the raw part of creating courses and learning and understanding and experiencing and using AI as I'm doing it. In this case, now we both have the training data for it. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Again, join the Automated with .tech community if you really want to explore that, because that's where all of this is the fork in the road at this point. Automated with Tech, all the more like really sausage making stuff will be there, because this is the last little piece I needed to make on This Is Your Mind on AI in order to have what I needed to do that. So I have all the ingredients ready. This Is Your Mind on AI is just going to be me using gems that I've created to just have a better experience out of life in all the different ways that I can. And I'm going to be giving away those gems. So you'll be able to have access to those, and we'll have those in thisisyourmindonai.com. So you can get access to those gems. And then of course, when that community is ready, which it should be in the next couple of weeks, which again, by the end of November, 2025, we'll have that up and running. So when that happens, then you can join that community. You can get access to those gems, and there'll be a bunch of public gems. So if you don't feel like joining the community, still go there, because you can see the public gems that you can just click on and use. But if you want to join live streams and things like that, we'll be doing, a lot of cool things over at Automated with .tech. So if you want the interaction, that's where it's going to be. If you want the experience, just stick with This Is Your Mind on AI. And either way, I appreciate your time, effort, energy for being here, and managed to get it done in almost 2.5 hours. Look at that. Not too bad. So I appreciate you for making it through this, for skipping through as many parts as you did. Now at this point, again, I hope I did the part where I made it start here and then go back to step one, because it was a bumpy as hell ride. I'm going to give you that. You're going to have to skip through a bunch of this stuff. But the whole point of this is training data for me. So I hope it's useful for you to experience as well. But I'm using this to actually, if you really want like the final version of the course and you don't want to have to like think through and watch sausage being made, you just want to eat the sausage, wait. Don't watch the rest of this right now, but you can like and subscribe, because that's how I'm going to notify you that the next one's ready. This is probably one of the final live streams I'm ever going to do it. This Is Your Mind on AI. Going forward, you will find they're just videos that are being published on the YouTube channel, and the live streaming part will be done in the actual community. So you can see, we can do interactive stuff back there. But at least the YouTube part of it will start popping up a little bit, because everybody gets videos, which is what everybody's looking for, shorter videos. And this is how I'm going to get there. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. But open to any questions, comments, concerns as always, and look forward to seeing you on another live stream. It is good to be back on live stream. So I hope to continue that little pattern, and we will see everybody later on. Thanks. Take care.